every year, and they don't even count that bitch. There's somebody in the bottom just catching coins and buying himself a new, new Sega. New Atari 6000 or whatever it is, PlayStation. So hopefully our votes count. That's what I do. That's one thing that I like to romanticize sometimes, is that our votes do count. But I'm coming out to you out here from the Central East, and a lot of calls came in, a lot of beautiful people, and just wanted to make sure that we got an episode in to stay on track, and just to let you know that that this podcast will be here for you every week, or that we're going to try and do our best to be here for you every week, the same way that you've been here for me every week. And the last thing I'll say really on the politics side is that I think we're quickly headed towards multiple parties. We're too diverse these days in our theories, in our thoughts, and in our cares and our compassions and our passions, to not have more choices. Imagine if you just still had two flavors of ice cream. It's just time for more parties. And I think we're headed there. I think by the time the next election comes around, hopefully there will be, stronger options out of different channels. Because I do believe that people are getting more fired up about politics overall. And that's exciting. It's kind of crazy when you go in there to choose on election time. You go in there and, dude, you look at the first two, the president, and then after that, sometimes they'll have a senator or something. Then after that, dude, there's like 30 things, and you're just like, most people are like, I don't know. I just start filling in whoever has a nickname. Oh, Spicy Williams? Oh, check on that, Mitch, you feel me? Oh, Rocky Crab? Check on that bastard. Oh, Buzz? There's always some guy named Buzz, Oh, there he is right there. Harry Buzz Watson. Oh, we got to have Buzz in there. You can't have a Spicy and not have a Buzz. So, oh, Knuckles? All right, we'll do a Knuckles, bruh. We'll do a Knuckles. That's how I start voting, just by nickname. If you have a nickname, you get my vote. That's how I usually am after a president. So, I don't know, man. Either way, I got to go to work. What else? Let's get into some of the episode and some of the calls. As always, the hotline 985-664-9503. And we asked who listens to the episodes last time, and so let me throw some of the retorts we had occur right here. Here we go.
Hey, Theo, this is Andrew from Atlanta, Georgia.
What's up, Andrew? Over there from Atlanta, baby. In Atlanta, man, Atlanta's about the most urban city you can get. I mean, it is blacktastic, baby. I mean, it is, it's like Black History Month, started a city. So if you like to, you love hip hop, all of that, the Falcons, they got everything over there in Atlanta. Onward.
Let me just start off by saying I love the podcast, man. Me and my dad listen to it every day, pretty much, or every time there's a new episode at least. I'm a senior in high school, man.
Oh, you could finish that, man. High school's easy, man. I'm going to be honest with you. Looking back, there's some kids that didn't finish high school. Fuck them, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's high school, dog. It's high school. If you even know 1492, you get half the answers right. If you read the Scarlet Letter, you get 4 out of 5 answers right. So, I mean, that's an 80 right there. That's a C. Homeward?
Out here in Atlanta, you wanted to know who's calling into your show. I work at Dunkin' Donuts, bruh. And I've been working there for 2 fucking years now, man.
Oh, damn, you've been a long time slinging them sweetbreads, baby. You've been a long time stacking them sugar doughs, huh? And you don't sound thick, man. A lot of times if somebody's been working around sugar, their saliva gets thick. And their dick gets slow and their body gets slow. But you sound healthy, man. You sound pretty lean to be over there in that donut domicile gang, brother Onward.
So it's a lot, man, but I know all about them donuts, all about that coffee, that bean juice we got out there, brother.
Oh, yeah, I feel you, man. And I'm glad to know that somebody out there in the Dunkin' Donut world is hitting the podcast. I'm glad to know, man, because I've had a couple Bavarian creams, baby. And I'm not talking about donuts, baby. I'm talking about a couple big girls in my life. You feel me, Kind of girl, you kiss her and you end up with a little bit of custard in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Amen. PG, baby. Praise God. But thank you for listening, man. And God bless you and God bless your daddy over there, too. Y'all eating donuts together. A little family eclair. It's a family eclair. It's a family eclair. All right, let's see who else listens. Onward.
Hey, Theo, this is Emily from Jacksonville, Florida.
What's up, Emily? Duval. And Jacksonville's a good place to get electrocuted by a down stoplight. I've been in Jacksonville a couple times, and you'll see a couple down stoplight. Somebody goes up, some homeless dude goes over there to pick it up and see if there's, any drugs under it, and he gets zapped out. So praise God, baby. Onward.
I'm a paralegal by day and a Chili's worker by night. Get that?
Oh, damn. I got to hear that again.
And a Chili's, Florida. I'm a paralegal by day and a Chili's worker by night.
Oh, man, I like that. One thing I heard about Chili's is that they don't really have a grill in the back. That they draw on all the grill stuff onto the food and they just put it in a microwave. But that doesn't mean that you're not, a great person. And what is a paralegal? What is that, a narc? Dude, I remember at school to have a narc sometimes. And a narc is some little dude who's really kind of like a little bitch. He's the kind of dude, he's afraid to smoke dope, so he's going to rat people out. And the cops every year, they invite over his family and they give him a little merit badge or some little something fake, a little lasso or something. Say wannabe on it, PD wannabe. And he got a little lasso, and a little plastic badge or something. He breaks that bitch out or something. Come on, man. Come on. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a narc or not, but paralegal sounds like that. Onward.
Get that hitter. I listen to your podcast all day while I'm at work at the law office. Sometimes I have to catch myself from laughing, catch myself from crying sometimes. But I'm listening to your episode on Monday morning from this past week, and hearing you listen to the rain is probably the best thing that I could have listened to all week. Just, is that rain outside? It's the little things in life, and I had kind of a rough week this week, starting a new week, and I have to say that put me in a happy place, and I'm ready to get going, and I appreciate it, man.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. That's kind of you to share that moment. Yeah, it is those little things that really kind of remind you of, like somebody listening to the rain, or if you see a little baby's feet. If you see a little baby's feet, man, they're beautiful. And in Vietnam, bro, I'm not lying, they'll eat a damn baby's foot. And you didn't hear it from me, but it's possible. But yeah, there's just some things that just kind of make you feel good. And yeah, I was excited, man. It's just been so long. It's just been so long since you get that weather on even a semi-regular basis, just to see some leaves blow by, or you see a little kid out there, some little fat kid with a kite. And he's like, Daddy, it might pick me up. It might blow me away. And I look over at the daddy. Me and Daddy both know a little thick, little thickless. A little thick neck ain't getting lifted up by a kite, baby boy, but it's just nice to see that moment, you know. Yeah, life has these little moments, man, that remind us that it all makes perfect sense, you know. That we're at the bank and that it all makes perfect sense. You can close the cash drawer, baby. Thank you for calling, though, and thank you for listening, man. Baby girl, I mean, not man, but thank you for listening. And whether you a narc or whether you slanging them Chinese, you know, the whatever it is called, Alaskan egg rolls or whatever y'all have at Chili's. My ex-girlfriend loved them. And her family would drive 100 miles to go to a damn Chili's. You know, and one time they'll be crying and stuff because it's closed. Look, get it together. Let's take another call. Here we go. And as always, the hotline 985-664-9503.
Hey, Theo. This is Crossfire Joni up in Southern California. And I just want to tell you, I just love your show. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much. I have a question for you. Just getting over cancer, and my hair is gone.
Thank you for calling in, Crossfire Joni. And I'm sorry that you have cancer. You know, I haven't had it, but I'm sure I'll probably have it. And cancer, you know, it's that ninth reindeer or whatever. You know, and that bitch is a gangster. Let's hear more.
I'm starting to grow back, but it's still gone. And I'm wondering, what do you think? Do you think I should wear a hat? Or do you think I should just go all natural?
Okay, let me back it up again.
I'm starting to grow back, but I'm just getting over cancer, and my hair is gone. I'm starting to grow back, but it's still gone.
Yeah, hair don't like cancer. If you have cancer, your hair will leave. You know, and that's age old. That's that's the cat chasing his tail right there. Let's hear more.
And I'm wondering, what do you think? Do you think I should wear a hat, or do you think I should just go all natural? You think, so I want to get your opinion on that. All natural, or a hat or a scarf or something like that?
Oh, baby girl, you got to get your little hat. Get your little crown. Get your little crown, baby. Wake up with the king, mama. Get that BK. Get that BK headpiece. Get you a whopper. And get that free hat. You know what I'm saying? You could do something beautiful on your head. I think enjoy it. Embrace that beautiful little bald top. You know, and you can even flirt with the guys. Say, hey, the curtains match the drapes, you know? And they'll be like, you don't have any hair. And you'll be like, gang, gang. So I think there's some real opportunity there. But yeah, I say get you a beautiful little hat. Get you a little, get you that freaking little scalp cardigan or something. Get you one of them little Jewish hats, that little hair wallet that they wear. Get you 6 or 7 of them, stack them bitches up, lily pad your whole damn head up. But I think, be magical. You know, get a damn edible hat. You talking to somebody, it's going well, you break them off a day, 30 calories of your cap. Man, it's something that's beautiful. But I think those are some things you could do. But I think you embrace it. And it sounds like you already are. I think it's sweet that you even asked me. I think it's brave, I think it's brave of you. And you could also grow that skullet. You could grow that skullet, and that's when you're going out of business in the front, but you still partying in the back. Get that hang time off the back, that gangplank. What else could you do? Some cute barrettes, maybe? Get you a couple barrettes, little canaries or something. You could do some ear piercings. That could be fun. But it puts it in perspective, because I'm always worried about my hair, and I'm worried about how I look, and I'm worried about this and that. And here you are, you can't even bring hair to the show right now, but you still showing up. And that's cool, You could do the key mullet, where you got that chemo, but a little bit of mullet off the back. But I say be just as brave as you have been in defeating cancer. I say you be just as brave in sprouting something beautiful up top. and have fun with it, because even you calling and asking this is inspiring, because you're just making everybody that's listening right now realize, man, what am I worried about? What am I worried about? I'm worried about how I look, if my leggings match my neck brace or whatever. If you were in an accident or something after a cardio class or whatever. And the truth is that, we got little ladies out here beating cancer and, just saying, hey, do I go hat or no hat? Yeah, here's what I say. Put a damn nipple on the top of your head and break out that third titty. Tell them it's that third titty, baby. But I think you're beautiful for calling, and just thank you for brightening my day by sharing your experience. Because you share your experience and your strength and your hope right there. All in one. And that's pretty remarkable, I feel. Information today, that today's episode is brought to you by ShipStation. The holiday season is here. It really is. And that's surprising, but it's here. And holiday shoppers are buying more stuff online than ever before. And if you're an online seller, which I hope, a lot of people are these days. My friend Tim just opened up a dang Etsy shop on his phone or something. And he told me the other day, he said, hey, I'm doing Etsy. And I said, well, look, man, do you need a sponsor? Do you want to be in Narcotics Anonymous? He said, no, Etsy. I said, oh, okay, man. Okay, my bad. But the choice for helping your shipping needs is ShipStation. It's the fastest, easiest, most affordable way to manage and ship your orders in just a few clicks. You're managing orders, printing out discounted shipping labels, and getting your products out fast. The result, happier holidays for you and your customers. ShipStation helps online sellers get orders out quickly, save money, and keep customers happy. No matter where you're selling, on Shopify, Amazon, eBay, your own website, ShipStation brings all your orders into one simple interface. It works with all the major carriers, including USPS, FedEx, UPS, even international. They even offer big discounts on shipping costs. Now, ShipStation is the number one choice of online sellers. And right now, this past weekend, listeners, you can get that ShipStation for free, baby. You get it for free for 60 days. You get ShipStation for free when you use promo code Theo. Make sure your business can meet the demands of this massive online shopping season. It's going to be one of the biggest ever. You want to be prepared. You want to be prepared now. Get started at ShipStation.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Theo. That's ShipStation.com. Then enter offer code Theo for 60 days free. That'll get you through the holidays. Try it out now. ShipStation.com. Make ship happen. First, I'm going to let you know this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. I recently started seeing a new therapist, and I'm glad that I did. And I went 2 times last week, and I'm going to have to do Zoom this week because I'm not in Los Angeles. But everybody needs some help, I think. We all need someone to talk to, especially as times get more and more disconnected, as humans do. And actually really disconnected of sharing our feelings. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's counselor network, which may not be locally available in many areas. You might have a problem with sex addiction or with drugs or alcohol. You may need a counselor that can really be specific, and they may not have it in your area. They might just have a veterinarian. And you go to there and you tell a dude all your problems, and he fucking, he neuters you. You're like, this ain't going to help. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/Theo. That's BetterHelp, and join the over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And we have a special offer for this past weekend listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Theo. That's betterhelp.com/THEO. Let's take another call in here. As always, the hotline 985-664-9503.
Hey, Theo, this is Garrett Calloway. I live in a small town in Oklahoma called Sallisaw.
Hey, Garrett. Thank you for calling, my friend, and happy election time to you. And thank you for calling.
I work with mentally disabled adults with what I do, so it can be a pretty wild day at work. But I just wanted to tell you and ask you how you would respond in this situation. Okay, passing morning meds, not always do they take them, but the meds,
Okay, so you giving out morning medication there, and you that slanger. Homer.
You got the oxys, you got the Xanax, you got all that. I'm a recovering addict, so it's hard when you got a refrigerator farm.
Oh, yeah, when you get messed up enough on pills, you start saying the alphabet. That's what we used to call it if somebody was too high on pills and they start saying, Yeah, that's that alphabet, man. That's the oxphabet. If people's on too much Oxycontins, bro, and they trying to do letters. Onward, brother.
Pharmacy sitting right next to your office makes it tough. Anyways, they don't always want to take their meds. Well, they can go 90-0 real quick.
Amen, man. You got to hit them with that Mary Poppins. You got to hit them with that spoonful of sugar, dog. Okay.
He went to his room, and I don't know if he was stashing this thing or if he just done it right there and then brought it back, but he brought a full turd, and he threw that motherfucker, and it hit right next to me.
Woo! Woo! Yeah, man. Well, look, we used to have this fella growing up named Kyle with 2 Y's. And he, and his parents would even get a little bit, it was Kyle. You had to kind of ride that second syllable for a second. But, but Kyle would, he could, turd in his hand or do a turd or whatever they call it. And I think it was his. I never saw him actually do it, but he always had one near him or on him or whatever. He'd throw it up in the air, bro, high as the sun. I mean, this thing, this thing knew NASA. And he could come down and have it land right on his arm like a hawk. Just right on his arm like a damn hawk, man. Like that booty hawk. So, there's a lot of people doing everything out there. Juggling everything. And yeah, they say if you get hit by somebody hum a turd at you, you get hit by it, it's 7 more weeks of winter, I think is the old saying. But anyway, man, let's hear more.
And this thing was hard. Like, It didn't even hit and crumble. It didn't hit and splatter.
Okay.
Thank God it didn't splatter, but it hit and just fell straight down. It was amazing.
All right, well, y'all got to hydrate them boys over there. In the words of Dustin Poirier, y'all got to stay hydrated down there. You can't be having dehydrated people also on Oxycontins. Just all strung out like a damn cactus, man. So, look, keep them hydrated, buddy. And maybe that's, this dude's just trying to let you know he needs more. He's trying to show you by example, hey, look, Daddy, I'm obviously missing some moisture. So you might be able to help him out right there. But thank you for the call, man, and stay safe, man, and wear a visor. And that's the number one preventer of getting faced out by a booty piece, man. Is that visor, baby. But yeah, Kyle catch that thing right on his arm. Man, I remember he tried to get a job at the Renaissance Fair. He went over there one time by the fairgrounds and hummed up a little, just hummed this little booty, just a little damn booty rascal high up into the air and caught that thing right on his arm. God, it was beautiful. Just landed just with it, no bounce, just like damn Dominic Mosciani. Pop. So, let's see who else listens to the pod, man. Here we go.
What's up, Theo? This is Dave from Georgia.
What's up, David? How you doing, brother? Thank you for calling.
You want to know who your fans were, so here you go, boy. I own a trash service, making them stinky back road dollars.
Okay, you picking up garbage, baby, trash. And you know what they say, one man's trash is another man's trash nowadays, man. Onward.
Always listening, riding the truck, riding on the back of the truck, driving the truck, doing paperwork, dumping this trash, dumping that trash, garbage stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan of the show, man. Keep up the good work. And a little PS to my customers out there, to all y'all throwing away them beer cans and blunt wraps. You think it's safe on me?
Dang, there you go. He said you got to think of your local garbage man. If you're going to put a beer or a blunt wrap out there, that's fine with him. Nobody ever thinks about that. Leave something nice for your garbage man. Leave him a little 6-pack. You don't think he needs a damn beer? Leave him a little something, a little Ben and Jerry's out there or something. A little Haagen-Dazs, baby. A little Friendly's ice cream. Leave him a little pint of something special. A little bit of grilled Rocky Road. We forget about that these boys are good people out there. And we can leave them a little something, a little treat, especially around the holidays. Think about that. Leave your trash man something nice. That's a good idea. I'm going to try it this week. I'm going to try to leave something nice out there for the garbage man. He comes on Thursday. So I'm going to try to leave him something nice. What else we got here, man? Thank you for listening, man. I do appreciate that. And thank you for picking up the trash. We want to get a garbage man in here. So we want to get somebody in here who does garbage or who's done garbage. Past tense. Who else? Here we go.
What's up, Theo? This is David out in Aubrey, Texas.
What's up, David, out there in Texas, man? And my friend just moved to Texas, man. No, he didn't, actually. My bad. Onward.
Just catching up on your podcast, and you're wanting to know who all's listening. So, building superintendent out here, residential construction. So, driving around a lot, have a lot of time in my truck, so get to listen to your podcast.
So you loitering. That's called loitering, David. I'm going to tell you that straight up, man. And that's fine. I appreciate loiterers, man. I love the French. I love anybody that, staying active and driving around and just looking at stuff. That's called lurking as well, baby. Let's hear more.
Just want to let you know I've listened to every single episode of yours.
Damn.
No matter.
Man, that's wild.
No matter what, listen through it all the way, from the first second to the last second, and man, you do awesome work, so appreciate it. But, man, yeah, I love everything you're doing. Thanks for just keeping us in tune with ourselves. Love you, bro. Gang, gang.
Gang, man. Thanks, man. Wow. That's wild, man. That's crazy, man. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for checking it out. I definitely had some moments this weekend where I was like, man, I just can't believe that I get to have this job and, and just get to share what's going on with me. And I try to share what's going on with you too, with the hotline and you guys do a great job of that. And, thank you guys for letting me be a part of this group. I mean that. There's so many times where, I feel like I don't have nothing, and then I'm immediately brought to the reality of the fact that, man, you got a lot of people that care. And you guys remind me of that constantly, man. So thank you. Thank you very much. And stay safe out there, David. Well, you're basically a peeping Tom, it sounds like, man. You driving through neighborhoods, Daddy? Dude, I would love it if a peeping Tom got busted and he was listening to this past weekend. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, that would be next level. All right, let's hear something else here. One more call that came in of who listens to the podcast.
What's up, you little dust bear? This is Colin from Cincinnati. Gang, gang.
Gang, baby. Thank you for calling in, Colin. In Cincinnati, a friend of mine got beat up by a couple of urban women one time, and he was trying to hold on to some milkshakes, and they kept beating him, and he kept spilling a little bit each time they beat him down. My friend Gary. Onward.
I'm a janitor at a middle school, man. I tell you what, I'll be walking around here cleaning up these little snotty-ass rags and all these little candy wrappers and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, man. Little detention thoughts. All them little children. You out there goodwill hunting, man. And I'm glad you're not a pedophile, bro. And I'm glad that, that you're just doing the work out there and getting it done. Yeah, man, these little kids. I saw some kid this weekend. He said, he said, he goes, if you die, can I have all your YouTube subscribers? I said, damn, bro. They savages, man. They're savages without the tribe, a lot of these children, man. But I'm blessed that you listen, man. Thank you for checking it out. What else we got? I'm sorry to just be going through calls this week, but it's just kind of where I've been, and I just wanted to make sure that I was going to wait till later in the week to do an episode, but I said, I just got to show up. I got to be there and get this episode out for this week and in the beginning of the week. And there's a lot of people who are going to be watching the election, and it's, yeah, I mean, look, I know some people, it's a really serious thing, and I respect that. It's just tough. Right now, I'm personally at a space where I don't like the way they have us all fighting against each other. When you look at the different news sites and it's the only thing. And of course, the polls, they say it's close because that's how they keep us coming back. And I think just in a bigger space, I'm just worried about how addicted we are to the information and to the, to that next thing, to that next hit. And they've just had us fighting a lot. I talk about it sometimes. They've just had us fighting. And I don't want to not like people because of their political views. I don't want that. I don't want to not like people because of what they think politically. I might not agree with them, but for years in my life, I haven't agreed with people with their beliefs. It used to not even be that big of a deal. In Los Angeles, it's a bigger deal. Out here in the Central East, it's not as big. Most people are just kind of living their lives. They're going to vote. Somebody will win, blah, blah, blah. But it's definitely become a more marketable thing over this past 4 years, I think. And also, this is just my perception. I could be totally wrong. But I don't want to not love or care about people because of our views might be different. If they say something, I don't have to chime in with my side. It's hard to do, though. That shit is hard to do. All right, let's take another call right here.
Hey, what up, Daddy? This is Reddick from Lugoff, South Carolina.
What's up, Reddick? And you name after J.J. Reddick, one of my favorite players, and he plays for the New Orleans Hornets. And he's that three-point shooter, Daddy. He's that Chris Kyle, baby. He's gunning from deep. Man, they should have a ladder right next to him because that dude is the shooting from the deep end. You feel me? Gang.
So I got a situation. There's this girl I love. I've been I've been dating her for 6 years, and I'm thinking about asking her to marry me, dude.
Wow, man. You think about getting that marriage going, huh? Oh, okay, man. Okay, you that crazy cat.
And but I'm scared to ask her dad for her hand, and I'm just wondering what I should do. Should I take him out to dinner to ask, or should I ask him to step off to the side, be like, hey, can I marry your daughter, or like any suggestions, dude? Yeah, I appreciate it.
Man, that's a tough one. I would not take him to dinner. Because you get there, what if y'all having a little side salad? You ask him, he says no. And then you got to finish a whole fish dish in front of the dude. You trying to down some grouper knowing that dude hates you. That's going to be that's going to be a slow swallow, brother. And then what if he orders dessert? That dude already hates you and now he's ordering dessert? You're like, damn. I mean, you could torch the top of that creme brulee with your stare, I bet, at that point. Yeah, I would just take him aside, man, or I'd go meet him one-on-one. I wouldn't do a phone call. I wouldn't text him either. That's shady, bro. I would take him off side to side, just meet him somewhere for a few minutes. And don't meet him somewhere kind of nice if you can. Or somewhere where you can both get away quick, a rest area or, maybe a Pete's Coffee House or I don't know if you've ever been to Donnie's Coffee. I don't know if it's a chain or not. Donnie's Coffee, they got like this big mule kind of thing outside. But anyway, dang, man, that's cool, bro. You going the old-fashioned route. Asking the dad, gonna get the blessing. It's a beautiful time of year. The holidays are coming up. One thing that's beautiful to see is people thinking about, the news just saying, oh, the election. People are thinking about other stuff. People are living their lives. That's what we got to keep doing. That's what they don't want. They don't want us to keep having our own free will. I believe that, baby. All right, let's get into another voicemail here. Here we go.
What's up, man? I'm watching an episode last week, and you're wondering who's out there listening. So, I'm a business owner and a good father, but I also live in my sister's basement on an air mattress, and I'm an ex-convict. And
amen, bro. Always wanted to be an ex-con, bro, honestly. Thank you for calling. Onward.
I'm looking around this playroom that I live in and thinking about the days when I was an ex-convict and wishing, maybe that I would have snuck in an iPod and been able to listen to This Past Weekend. It would have made my time quicker because, now that I'm down here and staring at all my snacks and my mini fridge in my bachelor pad here, I just want to say I'm grateful for a little bit of entertainment from you on a Sunday morning while I think about it's rough. Well, I think about, not being with my daughter and my family anymore. But if I get off the phone, I can keep listening to the episode and shake out some of this bad energy. So, thanks, man. I appreciate, what you do.
Gang, bruh.
Gang, gang.
Thanks for calling, man. Yeah, and I wouldn't call that bad energy, man. I appreciate you sharing kind of what's going on. I think a lot of us, when you share that, we can relate to being somewhere and missing someone that we love, or not being able to be a part of a system of love that we're not, directly connected with anymore at the moment. But it sounds like a couple of things to me, Sam, and I know you're not asking for any of my suggestions or anything, man. So yeah, I guess I won't really share anything like that, but just thanks for sharing, man. And I believe that God has, powerful things in store for you, and powerful feelings and powerful connections with your own family, and who knows with how many others, But I think we can all relate to that feeling that there's somebody out there right now and they, you wish you could be with them. If times were different, or if circumstances were different, or if things hadn't played out the way that they did. And I don't think it sounds, weak, you saying that. I just think it sounds like you're grateful for where you're at. And it really sounds like you're really grateful for those people that your daughter or whatever, that you're not allowed to be, or that you're not able to be around right now. And I don't know allowed, I shouldn't have said that, but that you're not able to be around. Because I'll tell you this, people, you wouldn't have any feelings about it if you didn't care. And I think God can feel us caring, So just keep keeping on, man. You can do it, bro. I really believe that you can do it, and it sounds like you are. And I think that the gifts, man, I can just tell when I hear your voice that the gifts are just, it's all going to be there. It's just probably going to take a little while. And I know I don't know that. I'm just saying that, but yeah, just thank you for sharing, man, because I think that just puts everything in a perspective for a lot of us. Yeah, we're all going to vote for some rich, egomaniac in the next 24 hours, but the real votes are, what do we do with our time? What do we do with our love? What do we do with our emotions, Do I vote to invest those into people that I care about? Do I vote to do something nice for somebody? Do I vote to call a hotline and just let the world know that I love my daughter? When I think, man, I would love it if I had an audio recording of one of my parents from when I was young, just a voicemail recording of them just saying, just letting it be known that they love me. So anyway, man, I'm not trying to harp on your call, but I just wanted to say thanks for sharing that, bro. And ex-convict is fucking pretty gangster, dog. That's pretty freaking G. And if Trump wins, dude, you'll be able to work forever, dog, If anybody wins, all these people are ex-convicts, man. It's a dirty world out there, man. It's a dirty world, man, and we got each other. We got it all, man. We got life, bro. And we got each other, man. And I'm thankful for that. So, what else, man? I don't know, man. What do you like, indoors or outdoors, Riley Mal?
I prefer the outdoors.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know, there's just something special about living outdoors. Like, I was in Scouts, obviously, and I've always loved camping.
And when you, but once you go outdoors, you build a tent, right? You go right back indoors, kind of.
Kind of, yes. However, sometimes whenever I camp, I sometimes don't even bring a tent. Sleep under the stars.
Oh, okay. Dang.
Yeah.
What's been up, man? How was the Halloween weekend?
Oh man, it was fantastic, I gotta say.
Oh wow, what did you dress up? What happened?
No, I didn't dress up. I just hung out with a few friends at their apartment. Just hung out at night.
Damn, bro, that sounds kind of what would I? It sounds kind of Moulin Rouge a little bit. You hung out at night. Who was this group? Was it just?
So it was a friend of mine, and his girlfriend, and then his girlfriend's friend from back at home in Memphis.
Oh dang! So it was was it a quadruplet or whatever? 4 of you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely.
nice, man. And what did you guys get into? Anything fun?
We did a few drinking games. Everyone tried to get me drunk, and it was great.
And what's your preferred drink of choice?
Man, there's something called a Schufferhofer, which is it's a German drink. They have all these different flavors. My favorite is the grapefruit, because my buddy back at home, Andrew, he's German, and he actually gave me that as my first drink to have, and that's my favorite all-time drink.
Damn, favorite all time, baby.
Yeah.
Nice, man. What else has been going on? Anything else?
I mean, I had my I had a first, a lot of firsts, I should say.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you mean? Like a
Try to guess.
Okay. Well, you said you'd had a drink before, so I'm guessing it's not your first drink.
Nope.
Let me think. Your first, doing fireworks or something?
Nope. I've always done fireworks on 4th of July.
Amen, bro.
Not that.
Your first, you don't do drugs, right?
I don't.
Huh. What happened?
Let's just say I had a first interaction with a lady.
What, bro? You mean like what do you mean, like first? Like, are we talking sex? I guess. Are we talking?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, sorry, and maybe I was jumping to the conclusions there, and that was, I'm obviously a tramp, but
No, you're good.
what? So first kiss, maybe?
Yep, bingo.
No way.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good time.
No way. And so what happened? Take me through some of that. You got the this is what your buddy's girlfriend's friend?
Buddy's girlfriend's friend. Yes. Yeah, so she is from the west side of Tennessee, and she came by, and so we were just hanging out, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
And
when you saw her at first, did you know there was any interest or no?
No, I didn't think of anything at all. That was the weird part. And so, I mean, actually, that was the normal part for me.
Of course.
And I was like, okay, you know, she's friends, whatever. So we were hanging out, having a good time. And there were some times where, like, so let me skip forward a little. My buddy Joe, he texted me because we were all sitting next to each other. So he texted me. He was like, hey, dude, look at the signs. And he was like, yeah, dude, that's all I'm going to say. And I was like, So I've been thinking past, like, that was later that night, so I was thinking all the other like hours in the night, and I was like, that totally makes sense. So I was like, okay.
It all made sense at that point,
right?
At that juncture,
right?
Called a juncture.
And yeah, so we ended up watching Nightmare Before Christmas, and I was kind of drunk. I was like not feeling great, and so she was like, yeah, do you want to sit on the couch? And I was like, yeah, that would probably be great. So she took my hand.
So she took the lead, it sounds like.
She did, but the thing is, when she took my hand, she didn't take it, just holding on to me or whatever, grabbing my arm or whatever. No, she literally did the full on, like, closed hand. You probably can't see it because of the monitor, but
yeah, I can't see it.
It's that guy.
Oh,
like
wow.
The full closed hand thing, interlocking fingers, and I was like, okay, I can roll with this.
So then you guys were sitting on the couch?
So yeah, we were sitting on the couch, and it was all 4 of us. We were watching Nightmare Before Christmas, and
were you nervous?
At that point, I was like, okay, this is fine. I didn't think anything about, like, first kiss or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I was totally fine. Like, she was comforting me. It was great. She was cuddling with me slowly, more and more. And I was like, okay, I'm liking this.
Dang, boy.
And so
feeling erect, bro.
So then my my friend Joe and his girlfriend, they went down to pick up some cookout from one of my friends that brought it for us.
Ooh, now that's always the moment, bro. When the other couple leaves the room, suddenly the heat is on.
Right.
He took his girl with him.
Yeah, he took his girl with him, and I knew what he was getting at.
Of course, man. That's bro code shit, bro.
So then, after they left, we were talking a little bit, and then, she made the first move, and it was great.
She did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of firsts for me, I gotta say, because that's also a first, her making the first move.
Wow. And so how long did it last?
Quite some time, I gotta say.
Yeah. Huh? The Jess Lockwood of lips over here. Dang, bro. And so was there any, did you guys just kiss for a while and then separate? Was there like a snuggle at night, or what was the deal?
It was a snuggle. It was a nice snuggle, I gotta say.
Were you pretty drunk?
At that time, no, I wasn't.
And did you get
we
drunker?
Both weren't. No.
Okay.
No. So I know for a fact it was definitely real. It was definitely something, not just drunkenness.
So did you get her number, or what's the deal, man?
I have her number, have her Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. You have mail. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So she's back at home, but I've been texting her back and forth. So
wow. Yeah. You think there's something up, maybe?
Possibly, yeah. We were talking about it, maybe, but she's coming back. I think
she is.
She comes back to Nashville about once a month. I found out. So
it's suddenly how suddenly they come back once a month. You know,
right.
Just it's the way it is, man.
Exactly.
Wow, Riley Mao, you're growing up, brother. First kiss ever, huh?
Yeah. I was pretty excited. It was a great time.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. And was she a redhead?
Maybe. How'd you know?
I just felt. Is she really?
Yeah.
I just felt it, man.
Oh wow, yeah.
I just felt it.
Yep, she is.
Amen, man. Well, we'll see, man. It's probably downhill from here overall. I'm just saying it's it's uphill, but
right.
It gets to be a rocky road, brother.
True.
There's adultery, there's all kind of stuff, but you're just starting out, man, and that's what's important, dude. I'm happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Yep, and I appreciate you sitting in here and being a part of the episode. Yeah, that's it, man. Love wins, Riley?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
People are going through everything, People are, getting beaten cancer. People are, overcoming their past. People are getting their first kiss. People are starting a new workout routine. People are learning to re-love people that they had loved before. People are learning to let go. People are, being brave and asking some girl's dad for the hand in marriage, and people are sweeping up after kiddos, and people are living life, man. That's what's important. Get out there and live life. Did it make you feel more alive?
Yeah, it did. For sure.
Yeah. I love that, man. Oh, we'll go out the way that we came in, man, with each other for one, and then with the Cordovas, and do more good. I want to let you know that whoever you support politically, that's great. And I would never try to sway anybody in any direction. Your reality is your reality. We just do our best, man. We do our best. Y'all be good to yourselves again. Look out, ladies. Riley Mao is on the prowl.
Immigration policy.
Yeah. So a couple things we want to talk about, right? So immigration and border security are actually two separate, they're closely related, but this is where the problem comes in. We conflate immigration and border security, and we really need to kind of separate those. So I'll talk, like, my expertise, my wheelhouse is border security. immigration is a long-standing process that's been going on in this country for hundreds of years, right? You have visas, you have people that come in, through the ports of entry, they apply on the front end. So there's that immigration process. You have non-immigrants and you have immigrants, intended immigrants, you have residents. It's very, very convoluted. But what happens is so many people are coming in illegally, and we don't have the right fix for that mass of humanity. I mean, the laws and the books do it, but when you're dealing with volumes and volumes of people, it's very challenging. So what I'd like to do is talk strictly about more the border security piece.
Okay.
But it's not lost that you have to have the right mix, because we have proven through history, go back 50, 60 years, with good lawful programs in place. The Bracero program is a prime example where they brought in guest workers specifically to work in the fields.
The Bracero program?
Bracero program, yes. That actually was where farmers could hire people for those seasons. And there was a drastic illegal entry dropped because there was a more clear and lawful pathway for those that just wanted to come work.
There was a plan.
Yeah, they just wanted to come work, right? And they were willing to go back after the season. And that actually, we saw a drop historically in the number of illegal entries. So these are, I mean, we have proven it
right
in the past, so we can work and make things work.
The 1942 Bracero program, an executive order called the Mexican Farm Labor Program, established the Bracero program in 1942. This series of diplomatic accords between Mexico and the U.S. permitted millions of Mexican men to work legally in the U.S. on short-term labor contracts. These agreements addressed a national agricultural labor shortage during the World War II, and implicitly they redressed previous Depression-era deportations. During World War II, the U.S. sought labor from millions of braceros who would return to their country of origin after the work permit expired.
Right.
Okay, so that was like, so you're saying there was a drop in, and there was a plan in place,
right? And I mean, it was strictly, for a lot of seasonal agricultural work, and then of course when they concluded the program, obviously people were still wanting to come back, and so we saw an uptick in illegal entry. There's some some nuances and stories about that program, like unions got involved and things like that. Then it became you priced out the farmer. So hey, you know what, I can't pay this kind of stuff. But it's an example that you can go back from 1942 for another 20 years to the 60s. That hey, you had a supply and demand. You had plenty of agricultural work. You had a demand for workers, and it can make sense, right? We've done that with H-1 visas and things like that over time. We need to fix the leak in the boat, right? Instead of just bailing out water, we need to fix the leak, and that's the border security apparatus. That's what I like to talk about. It's like, hey, we really need, Americans deserve to have a safe and secure border.
Yeah.
And then we need to, actually figure out better, lawful, even short-term pathways for those that want to come work. Tall fences and wide gates. Tall fences is something that, look, it was actually Senator Fred Thompson, the late Senator Fred Thompson from Tennessee, that talked about that kind of phrase back in 2008. And I said, man, that resonated with me. So I kind of built off of that and said, look, if we secure our border where it makes sense, where we need it, the way the Border Patrol says, hey, this is the requirement, and we build out a wide gate, that's the lawful pathways, the ports of entries, programs like Bracero and other visa programs, because so many of the migrants that I've talked to and people I know talk to, they just want to come work. They're not really wanting to come here and live here for very long or immigrate here. They just want to come work and eventually go back. We've got to make that better.
And they're using that influx of people all the time. I mean, even when I worked in farming, we always had some dude sleeping above me or next to me, or separate beds, but same room. And he was Mexican.
Yeah.
And we would lay there at night and try to say stuff to each other, and we couldn't, and then we would just go to sleep.
Yeah.
But you have to have a plan. It's like you got to have a plan. When did that start to change? So they had the Bracero program, so that was working for a while. When did it start to change where things got out of control with the amount of people coming in?
So, we're going to fast forward. We're going to take a big leap because a lot of this stuff happened before I was even born, right? So you in the 70s, it was steady, mainly Mexican adult men coming to work, doing seasonal work. In the 80s, the same thing, right? The same thing. They all came in. They were looking for work. Even our farm and labor had not been, industrialized so much. We were still hand picking things, right? So we've always had that steady flow throughout history. In the 80s, in 1986, there was a lot of illegal immigrants here, and President Reagan did an amnesty. That's always the fix all politically. We'll do an amnesty. We're gonna clean the slate, and we're gonna really start doing some things.
Like you get grandfathered in. What does an amnesty mean?
That's basically saying you've been grandfathered in. You're here illegally. We're gonna let you stay.
You made it. Like you're safe. It's almost like the guy in baseball, the referee saying you're safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're already here. We're not gonna deport you. Go ahead and try to start going through a legalization process. You're here to work. And that's a huge pull factor because oftentimes the migrants know, hey, if we can just get here
right,
and we lay low, eventually we may get some kind of amnesty. So that began again in the 80s. I came in 1995. I joined the Border Patrol in 1995.
Okay.
It's very interesting, especially in today's political times. I think it was 1994, may have been early 95. But then President Clinton spoke at a State of the Union, and he talked about the crime bill, the 1994 crime bill, which is prevalent today because we know we have President Biden, who was a senator back then. In that speech, Clinton says we're going to put 5,000 more police officers on the street to include border guards. I was one of those 5,000 hires in 1995. And it was based on some of the things that then Barbara Jordan had really spoken about. We have to secure our border. We can't just have illegal immigration constantly, threatening our businesses and everything else. So
was the crime bill started because they needed to secure the border, or it was just a general bill like we need more protection, we want to put more people on the streets?
So if you think about the crime bill, it had to do with gun control.
Okay.
Had to do with police reforms. Had a lot to do with, jail sentencing. So it wasn't the best bill,
right?
But it certainly got more police officers, and I got hired under it. So I was in favor.
So, but it was a general policy. It wasn't just about the border,
right? No.
Got it.
Right. So it was more police officers.
It is the largest crime bill in the history of the United States and consisted of 356 pages that provided for 100,000 new police officers, $9.7 billion in funding for prisons, which were designed with significant input from experienced police officers. Okay.
Yeah. So the 100,000, I think that was probably an end game and probably included jailers and everything, but it specifically talked about 5,000 on the streets right away.
So that's how you get started.
That's how I get started. And we were still, and I started in a town that's really, I'm from New Orleans. I grew up in Houston. And we can talk about some of my journeys over my career. But what's interesting is I had over 3,000 people in my high school. I went and after college and I joined the Border Patrol, I went to a town, Lordsburg, New Mexico, and the whole county had maybe 3,000 people. It was crazy, right?
Wow.
The cultural shift from, big urban life in Houston to the country. But I tell you what, I fell in love with it. And, but I went almost 10 days before we made our first illegal alien arrest. I mean, it wasn't, things just weren't that busy. And it was mainly, again, single adult Mexican nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, you would get people from
like farmhands.
Yeah, that's pretty much what. And kind of like what you were talking about earlier. We lived out on a ranch when we were there, and the landlord or landowner, he was like, yeah, they come through here. Yeah, I've watched them over generations, and over time you would catch the same group every season because in New Mexico it was a lot of green chili, so they were all a lot of chili picking. And you would see these people, and it was a cat and mouse game. It was fun, and you saw them, a couple times a year because you'd remove them and they'd come back, and sometimes they'd get away.
And people would probably leave water and food out for them at that point because there was when things are comfortable, there's a level of like sharing and caring that's able to be offered. I feel like when you're not operating from a place of fear.
Yeah, you're exactly right because look, a lot of these folks would come through. And they would muck a stall, they'd mend a fence for food and a place to sleep, and then to continue on their journey. That was just the way of life, and it wasn't. Right. It really wasn't until the late '90s. So I'd been in a couple years in the early 2000s. Did we start seeing a change in aggression and more of a demanding mindset from the migrants? So, even our culture and our society, we were getting a little bit more. Our youth was a little bit more, kind of rambunctious. And so we saw that transition even with the migrants. So then they were demanding that you feed them or stealing stuff. We were seeing that change, which, that was, I think, just naturally occurring across society. It wasn't specific to the migrant. It was just, we had rebellion in our own streets,
That's interesting.
Yeah, because they wouldn't fight back then. Then all of a sudden they started fighting and resisting. You're like, okay, what's this all about? This never happened.
I wonder if it was because of music influenced that, or I don't know. I'm sure they probably listen to different music. It's just interesting that kind of, that's a big change.
Yeah, because we started seeing a younger crowd coming in, and the younger, I call them kids, were a little more resistant than the older field farm workers. They kind of knew, like, all right, if I just don't run from the Border Patrol, they'll feed me, and I'll be back in Mexico in a couple hours, and I can start, a couple more days.
Yeah.
And you would catch sometimes. We can talk stories here later, but
they started getting more aggressive.
They started getting more aggressive.
People started getting more aggressive.
Yes,
maybe they were listening to like Easy E or something.
It could have
Easy
been.
A.
It could have been. Yeah. It was it was interesting, right? We started seeing a change in a lot more of cartel control on the south, in the Mexican side. So that kind of started pushing some of the influence of where they were going to come through, and then. We noticed that the price to cross started increasing in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think that adds to the aggressiveness because they're dealing with, bad actors, right? The cartel is you want to cross through here, you're going to have to pay.
Right. So now there's a different energy coming over. It's not just a guy coming over to pick peaches or to be a part of kind of sharecropping, I guess, type of vibes. It's somebody who's paid a cartel. Can you expound a little bit more on that? Like the cartels start to recognize there's a business in letting people cross through the land on the Mexican side.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So people were still coming to look for work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still going to do some of that, field work. But now they had to pay somebody to cross. So now they're like, hey, I don't want to lose the $1,000 I paid to come through this area. Now I'm going to be a run. So I think that kind of increased some of the aggressiveness because, look, or they may have been threatened, and so now it's like, hey, that I just paid to come through here. Now Border Patrol is about to arrest me. I'm running or I'm fighting because if I have to go back, then I'm going to have to pay again. We started seeing that dynamic. And I think that may have been, aside from just youth in general across the world, we're getting a little more, you had more TV, you had more shows, we still hadn't had the onset of internet and things like that yet. But I think that was the shift. And then, obviously we can talk about the cartel because that is a big business.
Yeah, but just to interject, so that was because when you say that people were having to pay to come, they were having to pay a cartel.
Yes, yeah. There is a plaza boss in every area along the border, right? It's run by the bigger cartels. So, if you want to cross near Palomas, Mexico, which was near my area, you're going to have to pay a plaza boss. So if you're going to come through here to work your way to a small farming community in New Mexico, and you had to pay, you don't want to have to go back because you're going to pay again.
Now you got skin in the game.
Yeah, or even worse, if you didn't pay and you snuck in around the plaza boss and you get returned back, the plaza boss is going to say, hey, wait a second, I don't remember you paying me.
Yeah.
And that could cost them their lives because, the cartel is pretty ruthless, So I think that combined with just change overall in general of society across the world, just kind of bumped it up. And it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. And, on top of all that, we started a little bit more forward deployment and posture of the enforcement side. So it became a little bit more difficult to get across. So there was a combination of several things, and it kind of plays into the overall story where we are today.
Wow. Yeah. It's really interesting, man. So what is the current immigration policy? Is that a fair question?
It depends on. So again, it's so vast. Like, are you coming over here as a tourist? Then you get a visa for 6 months.
You're saying. Okay.
And if you come here to work, you got to get a work. You got to have a passport and a worker visa. I think what we want to talk about is like, hey, what's happening at the border right now, and why are we in this mess, right? And I think we can kind of walk through that because I think it's important for you and the audience to know, like, to come to the United States, you have to have permission, and that starts with a passport and a visa. Now, there are so many types of visas, from entertainment to family to work, and it really just depends on what it is you're after. If you're coming here and you have a valid passport and you have you want to be a tourist for 6 months, you get a tourist visa. and you get it stamped and you fly in or drive in, you come to the port of entry and you're free to move out the country for 6 months. If you overstay, then you could be deported. But most tourist visas are for 6 months. And in that window, you come and go.
So why do people not want to use the pathways, the legal pathways to immigration? Like,
it takes too much time. It's the line's so long. And that's when you hear people say the system is broken. It's because there's so many people in the system and the line to come in the right way is so long. I mean, for example, if you're a small business owner and you can't find the workforce you need to maintain your business, it would take you probably 2 years, about $10,000. You got to deal with about 4 federal agencies to try to get those employees. Meanwhile, if you're just a startup and you're trying to start things up, you could lose business, lose that opportunity. It's because it's so convoluted and so long to wait.
If you need employees from Mexico,
out of country, anywhere.
Oh, from anywhere out of country.
Yeah, anywhere.
Okay.
And so it de-incentivizes because for a small company to say I got to spend this money and I may have to wait years to even get those employees, but I can hire this guy off the street now and nobody's asking any questions. That's why we've got to really clean up this mess, right?
I see what you're saying.
There's people that, like, they call it the death visa. They've waited for so long, like literally 20 or 30 years to get over here that they've got to really work on that. And I do believe that if we can come up with that wide gate, that clearer pathway, that will to some extent reduce the humanity that's coming in illegally that's causing our security vulnerabilities. Yeah.
And when you say like people to being hired and businesses having to wait a long time, most of those businesses, we're just thinking like labor type of work. Is that what we're saying? Probably.
Yeah, in most cases, but you still have STEM type businesses where people have to there was work visas established, I think in the late 60s, about 144,000 of non-immigrant work visas, certain criteria, and that's not a lot of visas for people from, and every country has a bite at that 144,000, I think is the number.
And that's still all we have?
Yeah, they haven't changed it. It's 2024. Why? I mean, and that I think is where the frustration lies when you see.
Is that true? That's how many work visas? Can you
non-immigrant visas? There is I think it's around 140 something thousand. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Non-immigrant visas?
They're not coming here to immigrate and stay. They're just here to work.
Oh my gosh, that's so few.
Yeah. Yeah, when you put that in perspective, how many people are getting caught and released into the country, and they're looking at, we want to give them work opportunities while they're waiting on their hearing, but yet you've had a quota established for over 50 years, and you haven't willing to change that. What about the poor people that have been waiting in line to get that work visa? What about the business owner that has been waiting his turn to hire people?
It deters people from wanting to do it legally at a certain point.
Spot on.
Why wouldn't they want to change the work visa? Why wouldn't they want to add more? Has it become?
Man, I think if I could answer that question, we would solve a lot of problems. It's Congress. It's Congress, and this is when we talk about the problem, it's we don't need the bureaucrats and the elected officials in Washington making these decisions. We need them to go to we the people. Go talk to the business owners, talk to the community leaders, talk to the hospital staff, talk to the mayors, the county commissioners, say, what is it that you need to attract and attain the best and brightest to come over here? What is it that you need to maintain your lifestyle in your community as an elected official? That's where those decisions get rolled up. And then Congress, passes a bill that says this is what we're going to do. If we're just relying on bureaucrats and elected officials that are in Washington, they're just doing it because of interest, lobbyists.
Right, it's lobbyists.
Get back to the people,
right?
Who says, because think about it, if you're in a community that says, hey, I'm trying to build this, I need fresh employee workforce. I don't have it here locally, but somebody from another representative from another part of the country makes a bill that doesn't impact you or impacts you negatively. That's not representative. So we really need we the people represented. And I know that's kind of a very naive approach, but it is what is necessary, especially if we want to solve this immigration issue. We know we have labor shortages. We know that there are people that want to come over here and provide and do good. Let's hear from the experts. And that's the the academic world, that's the business world, that's your farm and ranch world. The people that make this country tick, they're the ones that need to come up with the solutions, and Congress needs to support it. That unfortunately, it just seems like everything gets done in a circle inside the Beltway.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. That's right. If you've had an issue in your life in the way that you think or feel, if there's something that you're struggling with, you don't know how to deal with it, and it keeps haunting you, well, you may need help. It's the first thing that I need a lot of times, and I've gone to BetterHelp. BetterHelp has licensed therapists that you can find online. They're designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. That's right. Taking care of yourself it's the most important thing. You can't take care of anyone else until you're good. Visit betterhelp.com/THEO today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Theo. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. That's right. We're talking about sex, fellas. Remember the days when you were always ready to go, when you was ready to get you some sex, when your wiener was pretty good, boys? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. I'm talking about BlueChew.com. Does it work? Yeah. Get you a little one of them, chew it up, and wiener around, baby. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew wants you to have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code Theo at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code THEO to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Were things getting worse in Mexico? Was that also a reason? Like, was there something happening in Mexico that we don't know that people were like, okay, we have to get out of here, that was causing more people to come?
No. And in fact, there's been an evolution and change, and I don't know if evolution is the right word, but a change in demographics over the last decade or more. Again, when I first started, it was mainly single adult Mexican nationals. We started seeing an influx.
A guy with some sandwiches and water.
Coming to work.
Coming to work.
It was what it was, right? Then we started seeing an uptick in Central Americans, the Northern Triangle, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala. We started seeing that show up in they were always coming, but we started seeing an uptick in the mid 2000s. In the 2000 teens, really 2012, 13, we started seeing a big change of family units and unaccompanied children, and mainly Central Americans. In the last 5 or 6 years, it's been a world problem. I was the chief of Yuma from December of 2020 to December 31st, 2022. So just over 2 years as the chief of that sector. Rarely did Mexico or Central American countries make my top 10 daily or weekly numbers. It was all over the world. I led, and so that's been the phenomena that's changed over the last few years and that's another misnomer that most people think it's a Mexican problem or it's Central America. No, it's not. It's a people from all over the world coming in to this country.
Yeah, here's an article right here. It says, Chinese migrants pouring across southern borders spark national security concerns. More than 20,000 Chinese nationals have illegally crossed since the new fiscal year began on October 1st. Yeah. Is that true?
Yes. There was today's Wednesday, so I think Monday or Tuesday, there was almost 270 in San Diego alone.
270 Chinese people.
Yeah.
Chinese, where are they coming from? China?
Coming from China to Mexico and up the gut into the United States. So that's since October. 20,000. And here's the other thing too. A lot of these Chinese nationals and a lot of the people that we're catching and we're seeing down there are single adult men, like 18 to 45-year-old range. I was in Eagle Pass, Texas, right before Christmas, and I was down in Lukeville, Arizona, right before Christmas when those places were really popping. And there'd be 1,000 people on the ground there. 800 would be single adult men.
Wow.
And the other 200 would be families and some kids.
So does that mean that it's getting back to the traditional like element that you're talking about?
No, these are people. A traditional element would have been a single adult Mexican national. These are single adults from Mauritania, from New Guinea, from West African countries, from China, from just you name it. They were coming from all over the world, and it's also important to know this is how they get here. They fly in to Mexico City or Cancun on a tourist visa, and then at least when I was in Yuma, they would fly from Mexico City to Baja California on that same tourist visa. And then they would take a shuttle bus to the border 45 minutes away and then come across. They're still doing that, and they're just coming up different locations. So they fly from all over the world into Mexico City. There is still lots of groups that will fly into South America and go up through the Darien Gap into Panama and into Central America and work their way the traditional migrant route. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them are flying in, and they're really crossing the desert for 45 minutes, maybe.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, nobody wants to work anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody. Yeah, it's like even when it comes to migration, everybody's just cutting corners or like taking the easy route, I guess. But so that's unbelievable to me that it's so diverse.
Yeah.
So what are all these guys doing? Like, are these people whose families have been here and they couldn't get here to them, who have been waiting for a visa? Are these people who are need a job and they have a skill set that something has happened in their country, like religiously or with a change in government or something, and they don't have or is it bad people? Is it okay, or is it good people? Is it all? Who is it?
It's really a potpourri of all of this, right? So you hear the term asylum seeker thrown out a lot. Many of these people are not seeking asylum.
Okay, and what does that mean, asylum seeker?
So that has been a narrative change that a lot of people on the progressive side, open border mindset, says everybody's here trying to seek asylum. They want a better life. Well, we all want a better life, but there are certain standards to meet asylum. Asylum means you are pretty much being persecuted for your gender, your religion, your political affiliation. Living in a bad neighborhood, not finding a job, getting beat up by a gang is not asylum. It may be a rough life, but
that's Jacksonville.
So they'll just basically say everybody is asylum. That's not true.
Okay.
And by the way, there are two types of asylum. And this is, I'm going to get too much into this, but there's an affirmative claim where you are leaving your country because of you're being persecuted for these reasons. And you fill out like, I am seeking asylum. Like I am filling out I think it's a 595 form, and I fill it out I need asylum because I'm being threatened for this, that, and the other thing. And that's an affirmative, somebody outwardly seeking. For example, you are, and there's a piece in that asylum affirmative claim. It says, regardless of your status at entry. In other words, regardless if you're here legally or not, you can affirmatively seek asylum if you meet a criteria. That, for example, let's say you're a student on a visa. Mm-hmm. You're a student from the Ukraine, and the semester's out, and your visa's about to expire, but you want to go home for the summer. Mm-hmm. But there's a war breaking out in your country, and your neighborhood's been destroyed.
So you can apply for asylum.
And let's say your visa expired,
right?
Because you're waiting to get your plane ticket, and now you're out of status, so you're here illegally. But because of the situation, you can affirmatively claim for asylum because there's nothing there.
So that's a way that seems like the way the law should be used.
Yes, absolutely.
The right way to do it.
Something's changed. Yes, you are out of status now, but you can't go back to your country. Your government's in shambles. I need to stay here. I need to stay in. That's perfect. That's what the laws are for.
Right. Your government's killing women. Your government's killing gays. Your government, there's a war.
Right. And I can't go back.
But people are abusing that.
Right. So, that one, not so much. The other one where I was going is the defensive claim. And that's under a credible fear claim. So you cross the border illegally. You're arrested by Border Patrol. Border Patrol process you for removal. During the process, and removal is deportation, so you're going to get your hearing in front of the judge. We ask you if you have credible fear of return to your country. Well, most of them say yes, because then we ask a few other questions and they get to go have a credible fear screening. Now, 9 out of 10 people do not meet the criteria for credible fear, but it gives them an extra bite at the apple anytime during the process because they're just coming to look for work. They're from a bad neighborhood or they had an abusive relationship. That's not asylum. But they can use credible fear and asylum as a defensive claim. And that's what the majority of these people that we're encountering are using that as a credible fear asylum claim.
Wow.
And also on asylum, just in general, is you're supposed to seek asylum in the first asylum country you step foot in. So if you...
It would be Mexico.
It would be Mexico, which is why the policy of the Remain in Mexico, the Migrant Protection Protocol, so many people were coming into the United States after passing through multiple countries that were asylum countries, but they were claiming it, I want it here.
Can you send people back based on that? Or can you reject people based on that?
So what we did under the Trump administration is we created the Migrant Protection Protocol and said, all right, you're here, you passed through Mexico, you want asylum, you should have claimed it in Mexico. We would send them back to Mexico to wait for their hearing here. When that happened, the numbers just dropped. People realized we just closed that loophole because they didn't want to wait in Mexico. Because if you were really seeking asylum, if you were being persecuted, you'd take refuge in the first place you could seek refuge.
Okay.
And some people are flying through multiple countries. Look, if you were from Pakistan and you were targeted because of your religion, it was not only was it a 30-foot steel wall where it made sense, it was cameras, it was lights, it was sensors, it was access roads. There are so many places on the border that Mother Nature will, through a monsoon storm season, will wash away and you can't even drive to the border. So we needed all-weather roads. That was the wall system.
Right. There was so much more. There were places where agents could stop. There were places where they could sleep, get rest.
It was so much to that, right?
Right.
The wall was the talking point. The system was what was important to us.
Wow.
We didn't need a wall from the Gulf of Mexico to the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
Where we needed it was in the urban. So the Border Patrol has decided through our requirements and our experience that there are 3 operating environments. Urban, where the vanishing point is seconds to minutes. Like literally if they cross, they can disappear. El Paso is a great example.
Oh, yeah.
They can, 100 yards, they're in a neighborhood, they're in a high school, they're in downtown.
Yeah.
You get into rural areas, it's minutes to hours they can disappear. And then you get in the remote areas, it's literally days to weeks they can disappear because it's a 100-mile trek through the desert. So where it made sense, we built the wall based on agents required, not just all the chiefs requirement. It was, what do you need, agents, to do your job? Sir, we need more wall here, a double wall here. We need cameras. So we built that package, and that package was being deployed and was being effective. As I mentioned, the numbers. You combine that with consequences through policy, detaining people, prosecuting people. That took those numbers from 900,000 to 400,000. But by a stroke of several pens under this administration, the wall was stopped. The Migrant Protection Protocol was turned off. This administration halted all deportations for no less than 100 days, which means nobody was being removed.
Is that true what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all. Look it all up. It's all executive orders.
Biden's election, the foreign-born population has grown spectacularly in millions. Yeah. I see. Yeah,
There are places on the border right now, Theo, where you can drive and see 30-foot wall and then a quarter-mile gap with stacks of steel right there that was just left there. Some of it's being sold off for salvage now.
Wow.
Our agents had to drive by spools of fiber optic cable with a trench, but we couldn't deploy it because when they ended that wall, it was the system, the whole package. There's right there. That's
so how much did that hurt morale down there, do you feel like?
So that was the big kicker. We actually had
because these are human, these are our agents.
Yep.
It's like, why don't you care about the people who are doing a real job?
Keep you safe.
It's so sick in this country how they don't care about people who are really fucking doing a real job, man.
So without border security, every town becomes a border town. Every state becomes a border state because we it doesn't stop at the border. They're not all hanging out in Yuma. They're not all hanging out in Tucson, but they're coming to Nashville. They're coming around, and people are seeing that. You talked about the morale. We went from an administration, the Trump administration, who championed Border Patrol agents, who had them at the State of the Union, had them at his inauguration parade.
Now, Obama had done a lot, you said, too.
Obama had, so let's talk about Obama on that one, because if you remember, going into his second term, he wanted comprehensive immigration reform. The DACA, which is the Deferred Action Against Childhood Arrivals, which I don't think anybody disagrees with. If you're an adult and you bring your 1-year-old kid over and that kid has stayed here all his life or her life and they're graduated high school, you're going to deport them because they're not, that's what DACA was for, right?
Right. That makes sense.
That makes sense. No one's going to boot that kid. All this kid knows is American life, right?
Right. 100%.
As long as he's not a criminal and doing bad things and trying to contribute, let them stay.
But there was the issue also. But there was another thing that he did where it was like
he did DAPA, which was on the parents. Like you could bring your parents in. So what happened was he wanted comprehensive immigration reform. The Republicans said, "Well, we border security first." So he said, "Okay, I'll give you border security if you give me immigration reform." So he went to bat and started removing people. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a lot of deportations under Obama. He built a lot of wall. Mm-hmm. And then in typical political fashion, they argued over the definition of border control, operational control of the border. And so the left and the right started the political football back and forth. What does control mean? What's an effective level of control? Obama said, okay, enough's enough. I'm just going to start doing, I'm going to start writing this as executive fiat and do executive orders. And I'm going to start allowing people to stay here. I'm going to do that. And that's what he did. And that's when it kind of went, look, the Republicans at that point missed an opportunity. And
why? Because they could have
they could have had more border security and championed some kind of immigration reform, because we hadn't had any changes in immigration law for 20 years before that. So there was an opportunity. And to Obama's credit, at least on the front end. Now I don't know I'm not going to get into all the behind the scenes stuff, but at least on the front end, he gave it the old college try. I'll give you security, but you got to give me something in return. And when we argued on the definitions,
semantics of it.
Yep. He said, fine, I'm going to do my own thing. And we're going to start letting, he started doing his own executive actions. And that was a pull factor. So we started seeing this huge increase of people in 2012, 13, and 14 under the second term of Obama.
Why? Because you mean they're seeing these reactions in the news and stuff like that, and they're knowing, okay, now's the time.
Now's the time to come. He's not going to remove you. He's going to reunite families. He's going to do all this stuff. So people just started. That's when it all started changing. Was in about 2012. Remember earlier I was telling you it was single adults, mainly Mexican nationals, a few Central Americans. In 12, 13, and 14, we started seeing this huge increase. And I'll tell you a very funny story. It's not funny, but it's a true story. I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C. I believe it is Mother's Day weekend, the Friday before Mother's Day, 2014. We had so many people in McAllen, Texas Border Patrol Station that it was making the headlines. And we were on the phone. There was a lot of children and families. And there was literally hundreds of them in a Sally Port where you bring them into the station. And Border Patrol stations are short-term holding for single adults. They're not designed for detention, long-term detention.
Yeah.
So you had bodies stacked everywhere, sleeping in these Mylar blankets and stuff. It was an ugly scene, but it was the reality.
Right.
It was out of control in South Texas. We were on the phone with people from Department of Homeland Security. I'm in Border Patrol headquarters in Washington, and we're telling them, "Hey, this is getting out of control." And they said, "Well, let's think about what we want to do. Let's have a good weekend, and we'll reconvene on Monday." And one of the guys that worked for me, he's just like, "Chief, let me say this." I said, "Tell him." He says, "If you wait till Monday, you'll have a full-blown crisis on your hands." Now that was Friday. Sunday, then Secretary Jay Johnson rerouted his plane and went down to McAllen, Texas with his wife. It was Mother's Day. Saw what was going on. On Monday, he made a secretarial proclamation. This is all hands on deck. And then by the end of the week, the president got involved and said, we're going to do everything we can. I mean, that's how quickly. And we were catching less than 3,000 a day. That was 2013 and 14, 3,000 a day was a full-blown crisis.
Wow. And now we're at We're at 5 times that.
Yeah. Well, so for most of last year, we hovered over 10,000 arrests a day.
Okay.
Right now, we're sitting around 6,700 arrests a day.
So now we're at twice that.
Twice that. It was a full-blown crisis
Then.
under Jay Johnson and Vice President Biden. And fast forward, we've doubled that. Yet we won't acknowledge the crisis from the White House now. Wait a second, what happened? And then in between, you had President Trump who tried to fix it and was making huge progress, only to be kind of, the
yeah. I mean, the media hated him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that was
even though now some of the Democratic policies are turning into the Republican policies. They're like coming over because at a certain point, there's no argument against organization. There's no argument against like investing in our infrastructure and wanting to have this machine run well. It's like,
you asked about morale, and that's kind of where we were going. So let's think about that. One of the biggest morale killers for us was in September of 2021 in Del Rio, Texas, the horse patrol incident that people would talk about, and you could probably bring that up. Yeah, we had over 16,000 people showed up in Del Rio, Texas in a matter of like 3 or 4 days. Now I'm over in Yuma dealing with a large number of people, but just not that many in 3 days. All the resources were shifted down there. And our horse patrol, which is our traditional, we've started that, we were going to be 100 years old in May. Every agent had a horse back then. And I've ridden horses. Horses are great tools on the border. Beautiful. They were keeping the chaos organized. People were going back and forth to Mexico. They were setting up vendors. Were setting up on Mexico, selling them tacos and food.
Like food trucks?
Yeah, food trucks, right?
Oh, yeah.
As we were trying to organize all this chaos. So this one particular subject grabbed food from this family and was running across the river. The horse patrol, and like you can see in that picture, comes down there to try to, round him up, right? Mm-hmm. The image that was taken, the actual still photo, was iconic. The horse in the river, the cowboy hat, the split reins, the migrant running. It was a beautiful image. It was captured by the secretary, the vice president, and the president as they were whipped those migrants. And the president of the United States said,
I promise you, those
they will pay for strapping those people. And he made that motion. Number one, the person that took the picture said, there's no whips. Nobody was being whipped. There's the image, right? Mm-hmm. That's a split rein. That's the guy controlling the horse trying to grab this guy who just stolen stuff from people and he's running away from the agents, right?
That's an agent accosting somebody who's stealing.
Yeah. So,
and maybe for desperate reasons, but stealing.
Well, yeah, but it was, yeah.
So you're stealing lunch from a family.
So that's if you've ever ridden horses and used split reins, that's how you control the horse, right? So we knew all that. And this was something to hear the president say they will pay.
Wow.
I mean, I was 1,000 miles.
The agents?
Yeah, the agents are they're going to be in trouble for this. The cameraman said, nobody got whipped. This was, they didn't, it was a good distraction from the chaos that was happening right. Let's shift it to the bad Border Patrol agents as opposed to my bad policies that allowed 16,000 people to come in 3 days. You want to talk about morale killer? When the commander in chief, the president of the United States, in a country where you're innocent until proven guilty, says they will pay when the facts were they didn't whip anybody, they were doing their job, and
throw his own Border Patrol under the bus.
And so, I mean, I was 1,000 miles away going, oh my gosh, my agents were just like deflated. And not only the agents, but let's think about the agents' parents and their loved ones who are going, they're down there trying to do the best they can. The president just called them out. Now, if they had done something wrong and they had beat somebody like that on camera, there's a consequence for those agents. But that wasn't the case.
That's somebody doing their job. It's like at some point you have to have people do their jobs.
Yes. So the morale just tanked from that. It was already tough with the flow. And we expect under every administration some kind of change. And we figured it would be a few months. We didn't realize it would be that long. Then it just compounded and got worse and worse. And actually, the following year, I think we had 14 Border Patrol agents commit suicide. And we had one of them in Yuma. And I'm not going to say that it was because of the border crisis, but I could say that not being happy at work, feeling demoralized and not having a purpose.
No purpose.
Is a contributing factor. I'm sure there's financial, emotional, physical issues that they were dealing with. But when you can come to work where it used to be, hey, I can go out there and make a difference, and now I'm being relegated to transportation and babysitting, there's just no happy place for them, right? And
you take away somebody's purpose, man. We had a great thinker in here, John Vervaekian. He talks all about purpose.
Yeah.
Right here it says between 2007 and November 2022, CBP, is that California Border Patrol?
No, that's Customs and Border Protection. That's our parent agency. So DHS, Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Border Patrol.
Okay, Customs and Border
Protection
has lost 149 people to suicide, among the highest rates compared to other law enforcement agencies. I just don't understand why there's no support. I don't understand why you have to beg for support. I don't understand why you give people a job and give them all this training, but then don't even give them the fair environment to do their job in, and then look down upon them when they're doing their job. Just for what? Like, it's just unfortunate.
And you want your law enforcement, just like you want your doctors and your teachers to have their head on straight and head in the game and not distracted, at least minimize all the distractions while they're doing that. Because, number one, if it's a doctor, it could save your life in surgery. If it's law enforcement, it could protect you and save your life in an event of a tragedy. And if it's a teacher, you want them to educate you so you can make your own decisions as you learn and grow. We have to support all our military and law enforcement and first responders in that mental health resiliency world, because it's so important, because we need them, and we need to recruit the good people too. So we need to offer that, like, hey, not only are we going to, expect you to do your job, and Theo, I'll tell you too, I'm for old school. You're going to roll your sleeves up and get the job done, but it's okay now to talk about it. Like, okay, what I'm dealing with, how I feel with that. I'm not saying we need to be soft on all this stuff, because we still have a very difficult job, and you've got to get dirty. But it's okay to talk about what's bothering you afterward, or, hey, I wasn't 100% today because of this. All right, how can I help you? That is okay.
Yeah.
We all grew up in the get some dirt on it and go back in there, right? And that's okay. But we can talk about it now. And I think that's the difference in where we evolve professionally and we grow. As a leader, that's where I saw I couldn't make policy changes under President Biden, but I could make operational changes. Say I can devote some funds to mental health and resiliency with my workforce and bring people in to champion our agents and tell them the same thing. As chief, I would say something like, okay, yeah, chief, that's just box checking. You're the boss, right? But when I bring in an NFL player to come in there and say the same thing, like, you guys are heroes, thank you for doing what you're doing, it changes they come to, they're happy. Like, hey, somebody appreciates us. And so just little things like that, it's cliche, but thank a cop. That's what you want to do, because you want them
on your side.
And nobody, by the way, nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And so we're not going to tolerate bad stuff amongst our ranks, but there are so many good people out there, whether it's a Border Patrol agent or a domestic law enforcement or an FBI agent. There's so many good ones doing good work. We've got to champion them, because what are the alternatives if we don't? Complete chaos.
Yeah, and I want to say that too to people out there who are in a position where you're a teacher, where you're an officer, you're a sergeant, you're a community worker that isn't. You're not rewarded as well financially as you should be by your environment, by your city, your state, your country. I just want to say, just hold on, just thank you, and just know that citizens, they feel that with you, and I don't know, maybe I'm just kind of getting preachy or weird. I don't know. It just makes me sad, man. It just doesn't, because it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And I think people are tired of, even nice people are getting like, fuck.
Yeah. It's that erosion of empathy, right? That we talked about. So look, we understand that we can't always pay people in their bank accounts more money, but we can pay them in that emotional bank account by thanking them. Right?
Oh, 100%.
That's important.
We had a garbage man on, dude, legend, bro.
Yeah.
And he said the best thing you can do, go out there once in a while, thank you, garbage man. He said they never even see anybody. Nobody's even awake. They're out there doing the long haul. Buy them a sixer. Wayne Owen. Yeah, there he is right there, man.
You're right.
So, Chris, let me ask you, I want to, just before we move forward, I know I want to think about some of the political stuff, you know, because you hear a lot of things, right? Like being in an election year right now, it's like you start to see the political kickball, like you were saying, being kicked around of the border, right? It's the border, immigrate, you know, you start to see a lot of that happening. And one of the things that you hear recently is that Democratic Party wants to allow people into the country to be able to get them to be able to vote, or even by whatever means, to be able to get them to become Democratic voters. But also, I was thinking, is there a value in like the Republican side in also letting it be an issue? Because then they can say, hey, this is an issue, so you have to vote this way. So those are two things that I hear kind of and that I think about. What is that like? Like, is that something that border agents feel at all? Or?
Yeah. We unfortunately, we did not want to be in the limelight and, you know, not be in the political sphere, but we are on because we're on the news all the time. So let's dissect this a little bit. For the Democratic side, it is all about the poor migrants. We need to help them out. They're being exploited. We need to bring them over, give them a better life, right? That's a feel-good story, right? Now, there's some truth to that. There are victims and there are people that want to, but that becomes a feel-good story. The Republicans will say, hey, look, it's a security issue. They'll talk about security. We need to save our country and secure our borders to prevent terrorism and criminal aliens and drugs and all that stuff, because that's a real problem too. So they're both real. They just present them as false choices. Like you can't have one without the other. Right. And if you want one, then you're against the other person. And that's the divisiveness that this country has become, is you can be pro-security but still have lawful immigration. The other piece too is if you utter this, people will say it's kind of a conspiracy, but you have to start kind of thinking about where are they going with, why would you allow upwards of 7 million people to come in here? And one theory, and that people will float around, is, well, not necessarily to have them vote, because only citizens are supposed to vote. But you know what? Census determines representation and ultimately electoral college numbers and things like that. So if you can flood Texas and you take it from red to purple, you get more representatives that may swing to a district that could be a more Democrat.
I see. So if you feel like your party could influence to get more electoral votes
or representatives.
So if you feel like your party could get more representatives because there's a larger population in that area, right, and you feel like you got the ability to get more players in the game, then you're going to be pro that.
That is like, without the truth, without somebody saying, well, here's why we're letting 7 million people in, you kind of start floating these ideas. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but if you look at it, if you have a state that is split 50-50 when it comes down to Republicans and Democratic elected representatives, but you can put in 5 more million people into that state, and the next time they redistrict or do a census and okay, well, you get to increase the number of representatives, and it's leaning one direction or the other.
You're going to lock it.
Yeah, and look how close the House is right now.
Yeah.
One extra or 2 extra Democratic officials now on the House swings everything to the party of power. So again, without somebody telling you, hey, why are you letting all these people in? Why are you bogging the system down? Someone floats that idea. It's like, well, if that's the truth, it's evil genius. Great. At least we know. Now we can work, the devil you know versus the devil you don't know, right?
Right.
And that's because for the life of me, I can't make heads or tails of why this would happen, right? So as an agent, you're like, these people should be given a hearing and removed because they're not going to meet the merit. Instead, we let them go and we house them.
But then it's about control, because then it's about a sickening few people with such control. Like, where is the value in that as a human being? It's like the people that are controlling shit have do they have any fucking feeling? I'm just like, what is even going on?
I think
because why would you let all of these people suffer? Not only the people who are being who are don't have a clear path to asylum or to residency or to comfort or to peace. They're not in peace either if they're having to sleep hiding behind something to not get arrested all the time, and also the families and people who are just citizens of the country. It just,
first of all, my wife tells me this a lot. Clear is kind. We need to send a clear message that, and so if somebody's sitting here for 7 years before they get their first hearing, that's not clear.
Yeah.
They don't know what the results are going to be. They don't know if they're going to get to stay. They don't know if they're going to get a work permit. That is not very kind, right?
No, it's not kind.
And then I also, to your point about this sick, demented, whoever's pulling the strings here, they want servants over citizens. Because you know what? Citizens will stand up eventually. We will speak our mind. But if I can bring you in and give you handouts and control you, you are going to be my servant and you will do what I tell you to do. I mean, again, I don't want to be a tinfoil hat wearing person, but without the facts, without somebody telling me what the plan is, you start inserting these things and some of it kind of starts making sense because you can lean things, you can control things if you have a bunch of servants.
Well, it's where conspiracy theories really, that's how it starts. I was talking about this with a friend yesterday. It was like, well, when the news got bad and got not news, and it was just like the news was just trying to say what it wanted to say,
right,
and not just give the facts. That's when conspiracy theories start because people have to make sense of things.
Right.
So it's your brain's only function is to organize and to make sense of things. That's all it's supposed to do.
Right.
And so a lot of conspiracy theories, it's like, it's just
not adding up.
When things don't add up, the equation needs to make sense.
Right.
So that's the only reason why a conspiracy theory even gets created is to make things make sense. And when things aren't making sense anymore, then the conspiracy theories could be what does make sense.
Yeah.
And oftentimes these days it is.
Yeah. And the naysayers just throw that back at you. Well, they don't know what they're talking about. They're a conspiracy. Well, no, 1 and 1 is 2. It's not 3 and it's not adding up to 2. So what's the deal here? It is kind of crazy because we've seen such an evolution of what's happened at the border, right? I've talked about that, and there's solutions out there. It's just we just got to be able to. I like to say, get the extreme left and the extreme right, take extreme recess, and get some common sense in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
To start coming up with some solutions. And
they're not doing it. I mean, they just had the Mayorkas guy.
Yeah.
Who was
he was the secretary, just got impeached.
Yeah, he just got impeached, but that was impeached by the House of Representatives, right?
Right.
Which is only the Senate's not going to pass that, so he's not really going to be impeached.
No, it's just like President Trump, just like President Clinton. They were impeached in the process, but they weren't convicted, so they're not removed. And so, it's
right. People have given up. The American public has almost given up on all of this charades of bullshit because you can't even follow it. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has been impeached by the House of Representatives. A cabinet secretary has not been impeached by the U.S. Congress since 1876. Right. The office of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who is the worst, I think, said Mayorkas' impeachment trial will begin later this month. So this is just going to be a whole big hoopla.
It's a process, man.
And it probably will not happen.
Yeah.
Unless they need to have a patsy to make it look like they're going to do something different.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can have the trial and it's still going to require 2/3 of the Senate so that would be everybody on the Republican side and half of the Democrats saying he's convicted, right? And that's not likely to happen if this even happens. And it's easy to say it's likely to begin in a month, but you've got all these other world events happening. That's the politics of it, and this is a classic example of an election cycle. Last go around, they ran on going to impeach the guy. It took 2 years for them to finally do it. And did it change anything? No.
Nothing. And they ran on the Russia shit. I'm okay with letting people make their own choice, right? You would think people can get a sense and trust their instincts and find a leader that has enough of their commonalities, things that they believe in, right? I don't think I ever fall into like identity politics where I'm going to vote for somebody just because they're one party or this party. I've voted for people from both parties.
Back to choices. Think about it. Everybody wants choices until it comes to politics. Then they force their choice on you.
Yeah.
You know, we want to be pro-choice in all things in life, right? We want to have options. Doesn't matter what those options are, but we should have options, right? Yeah. Then it comes to politics. Oh no, you can't have a choice. Back to the politicalization of the border. I tell you, I had so many congressional delegations under President Trump. I was the deputy chief in El Paso.
And what is a congressional delegation?
That is where a group of congressional members, representatives, will come down and they want to hear and learn. It's a field trip for them, right? Sometimes they're caucuses, like Hispanic caucus or a border security caucus or African American caucus. There'll be a group of like-minded, mainly usually one party. They go down there and they want to hear what's happening. Oftentimes it's oversight committees will go down there. Under President Trump in El Paso, I kid you not, I couldn't turn around without tripping over a congressional delegation wanting to point the finger at Big Bad Trump and what he was doing and all the people. That was when the AOC said they were drinking out of the toilet. All that kind of stuff was when I was there in El Paso. Completely ridiculous. But you know what? Under this administration, when I was the chief in Yuma, I had 2 Democrats come down to the border. One was Democrat.
Tim Scott.
He came down, but he was. I had Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, who worked with me to try to fill some border gaps. So it took us 18 months, but we finally got something done. And I had Gary Johnson out of the Homeland Security Committee, Senator Johnson from Michigan. The only 2 Democrat sitting representatives that came down to the border. A lot of Republicans, but they wanted to ignore the problem. I had some phone calls from Senator Sinema, but never came down there to meet with me. Only 2. But when it was President Trump, I had hundreds of people.
So why aren't more coming even just because it's one president or the other? That shouldn't determine why one is.
Because one side doesn't want to talk about the problem. The other side wants to blame the problem. So under Trump, coming down to blame, just like the Republicans come down there now to point the finger at the Biden administration. So it becomes, so we have to.
Right. That's what I was saying. It's like the Republicans also, part of them is happy that it's open because they can say, look, this is the problem. So it gives them also.
There's a handful in every party that really want to try to solve this. But unfortunately, they're the minority piece, right? There's people that just don't want to deal with it, right? Part of it too, when it comes political, is it goes back to that victim boogeyman thing. I can run on the emotions every 2 years as a congressional representative. Senate's every 6 years. But as a congressman or woman, I can say, if they would have just voted for my bill, we would have solved this. But if you elect me next time, we'll get it done. And think about it, we've been talking about this since 9/11. 23 years we've been putting border security, immigration controls in the forefront. And we still can, and it's the worst it's ever been.
It's the worst it's ever been right now.
Yes, it's the worst it's ever been, and we've been talking about it. Now, let's be clear. 9/11 was the worst, right? That was a separate event, but that triggered us talking about securing our border for 21 years or 23 years now.
Do they even have TSA at the border?
Well, they're at the airports.
But TSA's, not when you're walking across?
No, that's us. That's Border Patrol.
If people come in illegally, do they take their shoes off or anything like that, or no?
So well, look, if Border Patrol's encounter you've come in illegally, we're arresting you. We check everything.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So there's either people that are legal that are coming in, and they are probably doing their paperwork and all that.
Yeah. So
or you just have illegals.
Yeah. So if you come into the airport, then you're going to be dealing. If your TSA deals with in domestic stuff, international, that's the customs side of things. When you come in through an airport or through a port of entry, they're going to inspect you, and everybody's subject to an inspection when you come in. When you come in illegally, you're arrested.
Okay,
and then you go through, just like if you were arrested in downtown, they're going to take you in, they're going to pat you down, they're going to go through your stuff, they're going to inventory your property and all that kind of stuff. We do the same thing at the border, which is a challenge when you're arresting 2.2 million people every year, and there's no place to put you.
What percentage of people get arrested and sent back?
It's very few right now.
No way, really?
The ones that get returned back immediately are going to be Mexican nationals, because the contiguous country, right? We just send them right back. There are some, they're just, man, 95% of the people I caught in Yuma were caught and released.
Just into America.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about a couple
what
things.
do you just let?
Yeah. Here's a very important piece, right? You've heard the term vetting. They're not properly vetted, or they're being released without vetting. Well, let's let you in the audience know. So, anytime somebody is arrested by Border Patrol, we are taking their biometric data. We are fingerprinting them. We are photographing them as long as they are 14 years and older. There's laws from tender age minors.
Okay.
The problem with that is the record checks are only based on information that we have. So if you are a serial killer in New Guinea and you've never been caught and there's no system of record, we're not going to know who you are. We're going to take your fingerprints and photograph and say, oh, there's no immigration or no criminal history, no criminal history in the United States. We have no place to hold him, so he's going to be processed and released. But meanwhile, he can go about his business.
So you can't check with another country to see?
If they don't have the data in our system. That's the problem. The process the agents go through, perfect. No one gets released, or everybody that gets arrested gets the data taken. But if there's nothing in the system, because we don't have a relationship with our country, that goes back to the Obama and Trump travel bans. The reason why there was a travel ban on those countries is they did not have a vetted system of record for us to compare notes to see if these people are good or bad. So if you are from a country, unless you're like in some kind of Interpol record that matches with us, if you've never committed a crime in the United States, we're not going to know who you are. So you could be an MS-13 gang member that has no visible tattoos that we can see.
In another country.
And never been arrested in the United States and not in some kind of Interpol database, we could theoretically release you.
Wow.
That's why detention is so critical. So we can hold on to them to make sure on no uncertain terms that who this person is, what's their intentions, what's their background, who are their sponsors, where are they going to go. That's why holding people and doing all the extra checks is so important. And by the way, the databases and systems are only as good as the databases and so they'll garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes there's delays. Sometimes there's a system upgrade. And when I ran your check today, it came back clear. I released you 2 days later. It came back as a hit. Well, we released that guy. So that's why we have to detain folks for that's the process is to detain them until they see the judge, but it's that's never going to happen.
The pipes are clogged.
Yeah,
there's way too many people in line. When you release someone, right? Mm-hmm. You release them back into America. What do they have to do then?
Yeah, it's great. You're going to love this. So we process them, and they get they have to check in within 30 days of where they said they're going. So if I catch somebody caught somebody in Yuma today, and they said they're going to Nashville. We would give them the information for ICE here in Nashville, okay? So when they arrive in Nashville, they're supposed to call and check in and say, hey, I'm John Doe. I'm supposed to report to you. And there's that. There's also some ankle bracelet monitoring they'll put on so we can track and follow. But it's basically on the honor system. And we don't have the ability to vet that location where you're going. There are places where you'll find 200 people using the same address. But here's another kicker for everybody. Because, we're all paying the price at the pumps, the gas, the grocery table, everywhere else. I was spending close to just over $400,000 a day in my soft-sided migrant processing facility with medical, food, laundry, and migrant care services. Migrant care was really the minors. So if they were children, it wasn't agents having to babysit anymore. We actually hired people to do that. That was $400,000+ a day. There was 6 other Southwest border sectors, or 6 total South, that was kind of using the same model. So $2.5 million. I don't know, my math's not too quick. But when they'd be in our care for maybe 2 to 3 days, and then we'd release them. We don't release them to the street necessarily. We release them to a non-government organization who will take them in, and then they will help facilitate if they want to go to Nashville. Well, do you have a plane ticket? Do you have the means to get there? If you don't, we'll help you get there. If you do, then we'll get you on a bus to Sky Harbor and you can fly. Those organizations are getting reimbursed dollar for dollar from FEMA through DHS grants. So now we're paying for the shelter and processing facility.
You guys are paying for it up front.
Yeah, and then you're paying for the non-government organization is getting
the non-government organization is a nonprofit?
Yes, but it's getting reimbursed for the monies they spend by the government. So the government's paid twice now. Oh, and by the way, the sanctuary cities said, hey, we need $5 billion to handle these migrants that are being dropped off. So in theory,
it's all a money laundering.
In theory, we could be paying for the majority of those migrants up to 3 times.
So it's a money laundering. Yeah. It's basically little Ukraine in America.
I mean, so when you're looking at the cost, now remember a couple years ago, former Speaker Pelosi said that we didn't have the money to build a wall. Well, but the states have now said we want $5 billion. We wanted $5 billion to finish the Trump wall.
We just sent $100 billion to another country.
Again, charity should start home, right? We need.
Yes, it's just fucking unbelievable. And here's the saddest part is, Chris, is that it feels like as a voter, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
That's the part that starts to feel like this doesn't, like what has to happen where these sick people. Here's an article right here. The Biden administration and the U.S. Congress have directed more than $75 billion in assistance to Ukraine, which includes humanitarian, financial, military support. And I wonder where all that money's going. I don't believe this war doesn't even seem like it's.
No one's talking about it other
right,
than the money.
It's a facade. All we're talking about is the money being spent over there. It's a Zelensky. I believe it is a money laundering.
So that's
what's exactly what I believe.
So crazy about that with the number you threw out, and what I was talking about as far as how much we're spending.
And a spirit laundering by the Ukrainian and Russian people. I think they're being laundered mentally.
Not that I'm in favor of paying off people's student debt. But if we just focused a little bit of energy here in the United States with the money that we're spending everywhere else, and I get it, we have to invest around the world. I'm not saying not do that, but not to the same. We could help people. My other problem I have is the homelessness and the mental health issues we have facing this country. What would $75 billion do right now to help the homelessness and the homeless veteran problem and the mental health issues we're facing?
Addicted.
What would that do? It would be a life and game changer.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're just printing money to go someplace else, but the ones that should matter the most, the American people, the people within our borders, are suffering for that. And it's frustrating.
And here's why. It is frustrating, but here's also why it's frustrating. Because it's not like I want to say that, hey, we're fortunate enough we shouldn't help other people. I don't believe that. I believe that if someone is in a place of power or possibility, they should do what they can to share it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I believe that you are killing the very people. You're killing the spirit of the people who do that work.
Yeah.
By making them feel unsupported, by making them feel like their country doesn't have any tradition, that it doesn't have any purpose, that the borders that people died to protect don't even matter.
Yeah.
You're killing the will and the spirit of the people that are going to do that that outreach and work.
Yeah.
And so you're going to get to a place, yes, where like you're saying, you just have servants that if they even want to do that, as opposed to spirited American people that want to help others.
I'm with you. I don't want to keep saying it, but it goes back to that erosion of empathy, and not only empathy, but just the spirit. Like you said, to roll up the sleeves and get the job done and go to work and fight for what's right. You just kind of numb them, and that's what the plan is, right? If we can create that servant mentality, we're like, all right, fine, if I can't beat them, join them, and that's not what we were founded on, right? I mean,
no, it's not, but it's a bill of goods that people are starting to think that they were sold. That's not real, and that's why I think people. That's why I think you have to start voting for people that have some real morals and ethics. You have to and some ethos, I think you got to start voting for those people who believe that, because if you don't take care of this, there's nothing this can't do anything.
Right.
If you don't water a plant, nobody can see it or smell it or enjoy it, and it can't be a part of growth.
No, you're exactly right. I think that's so powerful, or so powerful to again, to have just a moral compass and an azimuth set for the right. It doesn't mean we're going to agree, but it's rooted in good faith, right? Just and that's the problem, and we become so addicted to just immediate response or some kind of a illicit of a response that we're not putting in the work anymore. It takes a little bit of effort to do that. If it was easy, we wouldn't be in this problem. It takes hard work. And just like are the men and women in the Border Patrol, I go back to, that was my wheelhouse in my life for 27 and a half years, out there walking in the desert in 120 degree heat, climbing up in the mountains when it's sub-zero temperatures, sludging through the snow on the northern border, going through the rattlesnake infested desert out there to track somebody one more mile. Because number one, you may rescue somebody, or you may have gotten a drug runner, or you may have gotten a potential terrorist. But if you just didn't put in the work, they're going to get away and they could cause harm. And that's what I love about what was my profession for a better part of my life was it wasn't easy, it was rewarding, and it was hard work. But at the end of the day, the scars, the limps, and all that stuff was worth it. Because of the camaraderie and the esprit de corps that we had, because we were doing something good.
You were,
and to have that minimized and
not
victimized
supported.
and not supported. Is tough. We are a resilient agency. The men and women of Border Patrol ride to the sound of gunfire. We just needed that shot in the arm every once in a while that says, "Hey, keep up the good work. We got your back." And we get that from a lot of people. We just need that, from a broader branch, because for all the things that are wrong for this country, in order for us to get it right, we have to protect our country, both domestically through border security and then militarily, be safe, around the world, because we know that there's fires everywhere. And that starts at the top.
Yeah.
Not only in your house and every day when you go to work, but the top of the country, which is the White House, has got to be able to establish that. And we're not seeing that. And I also believe, and I've been around the country the last few months and continue talking about the border around the country. And I'm noticing the pendulum swinging back to like, hey, enough's enough. When people are dying because of fentanyl overdoses, because it's coming through the border, because we won't shut it down from China and from Mexican cartels, and it's coming in and it's killing people. When you have 300 opioid-related deaths a day, and most of it's fentanyl-related, because it's coming through, because our overworked border security apparatus is not being able to do the job to the extent it can, people are getting fed up. It's no longer a border issue. It is an American issue.
Yeah.
And I think that people are seeing it, and they're seeing the it's being shrugged off at the highest levels. And I think, it sucks that it gets to this point, but if this is what's going to have to happen, this is what's going to happen. People got to wake up and make sure that we stop electing morons and get people in that have a good head on their shoulder, that are pointing in the right direction. We can disagree. That's okay. But I guarantee you, if people will just pause for a moment and sit there and listen, they'll find more common ground than they have differences. And I think that's the spirit of America. That's the spirit of what makes this country tick and why people still try to come over here every day.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm just amazed that people would sit there in places where they're not even brave enough to go to their own vehicle because they're scared.
Yeah.
But yet they would vote for policies and people that aren't going to make sure that they have police and street lamps.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, I'm just sick. I think it feels, I think our souls are starting to feel sick. And I don't want to get just stuck in that. And I know you don't want to either. So what do solutions at the border look like? What does that look like?
Yeah, no, great question. I think what we have to look at, and it's great timing because we've talked about kind of the evolution of what's happened over the past, nearly 27, 28 years of my life. The adversary has changed, right? So traditionally, people would come across, you had your migrant workers we talked about earlier, but then you had the criminal side of the smuggling operation, whether it was narcotic smuggling or people smuggling. This is people, the smuggler crossing the border, guiding the people to a vehicle, jumping in a vehicle and driving to the next city and then going to wherever they were going, right?
Like, what do you mean driving who to? Like, what
Yeah,
what
yeah.
are you saying?
So literally you would have like vehicles. I mean, this is all organized. So I'll use Arizona as an example. So a smuggler would come down from Phoenix or Tucson.
Okay, there'd be somebody on the American side.
Yeah, on the American side, leaving a vehicle.
Oh, I see.
Coordinating with the South side. So it's a 2-day walk to this vehicle. The smuggler is smuggling through the desert, avoiding border patrol, guiding people to this vehicle. And sometimes they all get in together and drive off. Sometimes it's so well coordinated that they know they're going to show up in this window, this 1 hour, and the smuggler drives in, picks them up, and then they drive back to the next city. That's how it used to be. And there's still factions across the border where that's happening, where you're having these pursuits. I'm telling you, it was so fun back in the day when it was really cat and mouse games. Like we would chase these people for hours or shifts. Yeah, all those things on TV, people being smuggled. Theo, some of the funnest things. And
y'all use lassos? You don't use a lasso?
No, we don't do any of that stuff. No, we handcuffs. But what I would tell you, what would be fun, and again, give it context. You got to realize you're chasing somebody. Yeah. That's the thrill, right? It's part of it, right? The
cops
adrenaline.
And robbers.
Yeah, you would get pursuits, and they would be, they're going high speeds or sometimes low speeds, and then they would bail out, and people would. It was like hamster Shawshanking out of the back of a pickup truck, my friend, bailing out everywhere, right? And so you would throw that vehicle into park, and you would give foot chase. You had to go after the driver.
It's like when the pinata busts open.
That's right. Exactly.
You got to get the big snicker.
Yeah. So our goal was to go get the driver because that's who we could prosecute, and then you go round up everybody else. But that was fun. And you would even almost kind of like you and the smuggler would almost kind of like, all right, you got me. Oh yeah. And that was before we had all the databases and systems to double check that this person was been caught. Now we would know if we caught you, 10 or 100 times. But that was some of the most thrilling part of my job. Was it was rewarding because you were saving lives if you end up rescuing people. But then there'd be fun. Like, you'd pick up the 2x4 or the plywood on the back of a pickup truck, and it's like, hey man, I can see you, and they wouldn't look at you. But you would get vans with I'd get 30 people in a van. You get 10 people in a Ford, Fiesta, and you're like, how does this happen? What was really funny is you see these older model vehicles. I'm like, my vehicle, I wouldn't trust driving it to Michigan in the middle of the night. These people didn't care; they were going. But we had. What
was the number one vehicle that got left down there? By the way, like, was there one vehicle that was always like?
If you saw a Suburban, any kind of SUV, that was always just a giveaway. You're driving down a 2-lane border highway, and then there's next to a culvert, there's some kind of SUV. They love pickups because they could just jump in real quick. Pickups were very. Extended cabs were great because they could put people in the front end, and if you drove by you, you wouldn't see anything in the bed of the truck, and you couldn't see what was in the back. But we just knew because you'd see the yellow lights because they were usually older vehicles and they're riding like this. But we would get into all that. It was so much fun. Or you would track people for days, literally like. You go in, if you're a day shift guy, you're in at 6 o'clock in the morning, you're on a trail by 7, you work until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, turn it over to the next shift, you come back the next day and like, hey, we pushed it 20 miles. So you'd go out there and work it, and then you'd catch them. Yeah. And it was people looking for work, people that were criminals, gang members, or they were, back then it was the cash crop was marijuana. That was when, everybody was backpacking marijuana. Now you don't even catch marijuana anymore. It's legalized in so many places. But it's changed now. It's changed because again, for years, we fought a conventional war, if you will, against a conventional smuggling. Now, because of policies and the way things are so interconnected, like people are making all their arrangements now on the cell phones, using online, social media platforms. The smugglers oftentimes don't even cross the border anymore. All the arrangements are made prior to people getting to the border. As I mentioned earlier, the large groups are being, pushed through in one area. The other ones are using their apps, and I'm not going to name the programs, but they will communicate with the smuggler via cell phone. and via apps doing DMs and hey, I'm lost. And it will send me a picture of what you see. And then they will text back, okay, you need to go through this way. And they'd roadmap it for them.
Oh, so the coyotes or whatever who are bringing them across usually aren't even going anymore.
Yeah, they're either in Mexico or in Phoenix. Wow. Because then everything's done through cash apps and everything else. So we have this beautiful thing called interconnectedness has made the adversary unconventional. So how do we attack it? It's one of the things that I'm doing right now. And this is necessarily a big pitch, but the reality is there is so much online smuggling and trafficking done on our numerous social media platforms that children are being recruited to be smugglers. Children are and people are being recruited to buy illegitimate, narcotics, underground stuff, hey, you want a painkiller?
I've done it.
We're using, you can do this on the apps. And this is where it becomes so deadly because it may be pressed in a clandestine lab in Mexico as a Vicodin, but they don't have the same sanitary. So now you've got residual fentanyl. DEA put out a stat recently, like 7 out of 10 off-market things have enough fentanyl in it now to kill them. That's ridiculous. So one of the things, a solution that we have created, and I'm part of, is using artificial intelligence and machine learning to target the online predators, whether it's human
trafficking. How is it doing that?
So so this is my company that I'm part of, Massive Blue. So we basically use deep tech and to identify the habits and the process of, look, I worked on a physical wall. Mm-hmm. Now we've created a cyber wall to protect and target those that are going after people, right? Like there were over, I think in the last 7 days, close to 2,000 unique individuals posting sex services in Nashville alone. Mm-mm. Yeah. Who do you think those people are? Theo, you and I are close enough in age to remember milk carton, missing kids in the milk carton. You don't see that anymore, right? Mm-mm. It's these people. Not only are they internationally being victimized and trafficked, domestically. In Nashville alone, that many unique individuals, right? And about 25% of that stuff is narcotics crossovers. So not only are they selling people and services, there's also drug related. So we have got to take this unconventional approach and use the technology
that they're using.
And we play by the rules, obviously.
Wow.
But we have got to create that cyber wall to protect our country, protect our community, our companies, because there's all sorts of corporate espionage, and our children, most importantly. Because if you think that, kids are upstairs going to bed on a school night at 9:00 and not on their social media, do you think the person they're engaging with is really their friend or somebody that they know? This is where these predators and boy, the sextortion, all the stuff that's going on. Look, I did this for so long that this was where I knew, how could I continue to make a difference and not wear the badge and gun anymore, is to go after the bad guy in an unconventional manner. And, I think it's going to save lives. It's going to protect lives. It's going to, there's so much we can do with it. Let's use the technology to our advantage. It's not going away.
Right.
Let's use it to help. And if I can minimize human trafficking online, if I can save lives, then I'm living the best life.
How does this company do that? How does your company do that?
Well, I'm not going to get into too much of it.
But you're just saying, but that's where you're headed now.
That's where we're heading, right?
Okay, so and that's where you're headed, or you also think that that's where we're headed as a Border Patrol agency?
Well, so I would love to be able to get this in the hands of the Border Patrol, because let's think about what's happening right now online. It really takes a person staring at a computer, data mining, just going through websites and going through all. Why not use technology? What I can do in an hour would take somebody a week or more. And so this is how we can get this into. We're working with a couple states and a couple agencies with this program to help them use this tool. It's a great lead generator, right? It's going to do that, and we're going to continue to evolve. We love online. We love our social media, and it's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
But let's put the safeguards and let's use it to.
Well, it goes back again, though, to why doesn't our country have, and maybe this is me just expecting out of government. I've often said, if you expect anything out of government, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
But you would think the one thing that you would want out of your government, that you would get, is safety.
Yeah.
Right? That is the number one thing that people always pay for,
Yeah.
is safety. And the fact that they just had Zuckerberg in court the other day, apologizing with no emotion. Guy, I don't know if the guy's ever had a feeling. And he's in court because of families that have lost children or had children sex trafficked or bought and drugs. There's no wall. I don't know why an adult Zuckerberg apologizes to families of online child sex abuse. In an unscripted scene during tense testimony Wednesday, Meta Platforms Inc. CEO Mark Zuckerberg stood before a packed Senate hearing. I am sorry for everything that you have all gone through, he said. Wednesday, while facing a crowd of safety advocates and parents holding photos of their children. It's terrible. No one should have to go through the things that you families have suffered. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. He's sitting there surrounded by all of his lawyers.
Yeah.
It seemed like he didn't have an emotion.
Yeah.
But that blows my mind why there isn't, how are you even allowed to use I can't even buy a deodorant that doesn't have a little thing on it.
Right.
That has a plastic thing
Right.
on it now.
Yeah.
So that some kid just doesn't put it on or put his mouth on it.
Right.
But yet you can have an app where some predator can reach out to my fucking child and not go to fucking jail for it. I feel like these guys should be jailed. It's the same with that family, the Sackler family that did the opiates with OxyContin. It's like they killed hundreds of thousands of people in this country.
Yeah.
They killed hundreds of thousands of human fucking beings.
It's unbelievable, right?
And they didn't go to jail.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that, which is, again, your passion is exactly my passion when it comes to this. We need to be able to come up with tools to combat this because, look, social media, the platforms, the different apps, it's not going away. We're not going backwards. So let's attack it from the front end. Let's beat them at the punch, and that's what my company has been doing. I'm super excited because I think that is a way that we can feel safe as a parent myself. I want my daughter to be able to enjoy the technology that's there. It's part of her generation, but I want her to be safe.
100%.
And I want to be able to. We're investing in this to make sure people can be healthy and live life. For every story I can tell you, there's a dozen more of parents that have lost their children on something as simple as I'm ordering this online. It got delivered to the house, and I thought it was a Vicodin, and they woke up. Well, they never woke up. I met a lady a year or so ago, and it's exactly that. Her daughter was dealing with some recovering pain from. She was a gymnast. And her friends were chatting online. She's like, well, you can order this online. And she did. Mom went to bed. This got delivered to the house. And she woke up, went upstairs to find her daughter, and she was dead, and she found the exchange on her phone, and no parent should, it's tough enough just to imagine losing a child. But when you lose them because of something like that could be prevented, or at least there could be safeguards.
There's got to be. Yeah. There's no way they can tell what kind of shit you like to look at and advertise you bullshit.
Yeah.
But they can't tell. They can't keep. They can't have a little bit more efficiency with figuring out who is able to reach out to children or who children are able to reach out to. Yeah. Now, I guess somebody could create. And look, obviously, I'm not arguing the other side of it. That maybe there's like. Somebody could create a platform. But if somebody hasn't been online long enough with a platform, then maybe they shouldn't be able to reach out to children. Yeah. Or there should just be much stricter things in place, it seems like.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
It's a stark reminder that, that there's evil out there and so
but it's fucking winning. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah. And that's why we're invested in this. I can tell you that there are platforms out there that will recruit teenagers, and this is very prevalent in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, to get an SUV, get your mom and dad's SUV, drive down. If you're interested to make $1,000 a person, you want to make $5,000, get an SUV, DM me here, and then that message disappears, right? But they're messaging, and they give them a pin drop and go pick up these 5 people. Well, now these kids, and most of them are minors, 16, 17 years old, so they haven't been driving very long. Now they're in mom and dad's SUV. They end up picking up 10 people in some remote area near Douglas, Arizona, and they're told, drive to Phoenix, and when you get to Phoenix, DM me, I'll give you a pin drop. And don't stop for Border Patrol or cops. They're doing 100 miles an hour with 10 people in their car, top heavy. They don't know how to drive because they're young anyway. They're rolling over. People are dying. They're T-boning innocent civilians caught in an intersection, killing people. This is happening every day, and they're using social media to coordinate it. So the smugglers are not at risk because they're
not even doing the job anyway. Yeah.
Burn the account, burn the phone. They're not. There's no overhead for them.
Wow.
They just used mom's SUV. Oh, and by the way, if you were successful and you got to the drop-off location, they're going to say, yeah, I got your license plate. I know who you are. I'm not going to pay you this time. You're not going to squeal because I know who you are. I know what school you go to. I know what your mom drives. The hook's in, man.
Yeah.
The hook's in. Yeah, there's stuff right there. Yep, that happens.
Migrants killing pickup crashes, undocumented immigrants killed, chase on border that killed 8.
Yep.
Wow.
It's nuts. And again, back to the solutions. How do we fix it? So we attack it. We have to attack at the front, right?
Okay.
We still have to secure that border, right? We got to plug the leak, not just what the administration and what a lot of politicians like to give you buckets to bail the water out. Just fix the damn leak, right?
Yeah, but if they fix the leak, then they won't have something to fucking kick the ball around to use as a football so we keep playing this game.
Yes, exactly.
What do you, if you're the board, you could make the choices, what would you do?
Well, I'd finish what we started as far as securing the border where it made sense, what the agents need. I don't need, again, like I mentioned, I don't need a wall 2,000 miles, right?
Right.
But where I need it, I need it.
Right.
I need the technology. I need the agents. I need to put some of these safeguards back in place to close loopholes in the existing policy. I would put immigration judges in mass to quick court these people like we do sometimes in municipalities, night courts, right? Where you just go up there and see the judge and you know what you're saying. So we can start thinning the herd of this backlog, right?
So the legislative side, you need help.
Yeah. So
is that legislative?
Yeah. So we need some laws. Just the laws in the books are good, right? But we need laws to hold the executive accountable to pursue the laws and not have too much latitude. So I would do some things, and we need legislature to appropriate to fund.
You need people to do the processing.
Yeah. Well, so that again, that's kind of one of those things where if we minimize the flow,
right,
then we could handle that. That hiring more people to process is a bucket to bail water. It's not fixing the leak.
Got it.
Forcing them through the ports of entry through better lawful pathways, right? Instituting that migrant protection protocol where they're going to wait in the country they first stepped in for asylum until they can get here or until they can get those kind of things. We can modernize them. We can clean them up. A lot of these policies were highly effective. They were a little clunky to start, but they were working. They could have been smoothed out. That's what I would do. I would secure the border first, and I would start right away with working on the backlog and then the preventive piece, which would be better pathways. But I would do it by not my circle of friends in Washington.
Yeah.
I'd be out there in all 50 states saying, what do you need to make, and I don't want to sound political, but to continue to make this country great, to make sure that we are, doing the right thing for we the people, and opening that door to our invited guests as we need and see fit, right? The country should determine who and what comes in here and how they come in, not just, come in mass and we'll filter through it when we can. That's no plan. Like you've mentioned, that would be the plan. Secure, clean up, and preventive maintenance is what I would do, And there's people out there that see that, and that want to do good. They want to secure that. They want to find that balance.
Like
right?
what do you mean when you say that? Like
there's
politicians.
Yeah, there's politicians out there that I think see this from a common sense and compassion.
Have you had some that have showed up like that?
Yeah. Well, Bobby Kennedy. There's an example. As a guy who's so we've had. Well, let's talk about current.
Oh, Bobby gives a fuck. It's unbelievable when you look at Bobby and you look at the other candidates. You're like, He actually gives. He has thoughts and views on shit. Biden, I don't know any of his policies. Trump is very like one-handed, kind of in a lot of ways. He doesn't elaborate. Biden is not. He's just not hell. It's just not fair what they keep doing to that man as a senior citizen. I think it's sick. But yeah, Bobby is dialed in.
Yeah, so I would say this.
He at least has views. He has views on things. He'll give you reasons why. He has. You can tell that he cares, and I think he's open to whatever. But I just like to have anybody that gives a fuck.
I think that's you're going to see in that video that there's actually a picture of me and what he posted. He posted a couple things with me on it today. I'll do this. I'll say this: they're in the current sitting political pieces. There's for every one that gives a darn, there's a couple that don't care. Right? You just get it right. They're down there for photo op. They're nodding their heads. It's like they don't want to solve that, as we just talked about, so they can pawn it, right? But then there's yours truly right there.
There you go. Oh, that's cool, man.
So when you,
I'm not trying to sound like I'm not some right wing nut job. That's the crazy part too. They start brainwashing you to feel like you're some like far right crazy person if you just think there should be organization to the fucking program.
It's compassion and common sense is all we're talking about, because there's
I don't want us to not have people here. I don't want us to not have diversity. I would hate that. But I don't want us to have people hiding in the desert who are scared, who don't know what the fuck is going on, who don't know how they don't have a path. Both people need immigrants to have a path.
It seems like the current elected class, if you will, and I'll just say the former politicians, current politicians, they present you with false choices. Like you can, and we've talked about it a little bit today. You're either for it or you're against it. You can't be one or the other. No, that's not true.
That's not true.
There is some common ground, and that's what anybody, to include yourself, that's why we're here today, that wants to learn facts, to learn about the border, or come down to the border and see what's going on. Not just a photo op, not just saying I've been there to check a box, but literally go down there and spend some time. Talk to the sheriffs, talk to the mayors, talk to the agricultural leadership, the farm and ranchers, talk to the nonprofits, the domestic violence shelter, talk to the superintendent of the hospital who has a $21 million bill from illegal immigration that hasn't been paid yet, who's supposed to serve the community. Talk to retired Border Patrol officials. Talk to people that have lived there to find out what's going on, not what one TV show or news station says or the other counterpoints it. Go down there, and that's why I appreciate what Bobby did. He came down there. It spent 3 days. I spent maybe a couple hours with him, giving him my take. That's longer than anybody else has spent.
Yeah,
that's longer than the president, the vice president, and the secretary goes often. But look, this is somebody. That's what we want. We want those choices. We want that out of our leadership. Whether it goes anywhere or not, you come down there and you listen.
Yeah.
And when you listen, you can pause and you can maybe learn and, maybe make a difference. And I think that's the critical piece. As a country, as we talked about earlier, we want choices. We want options. We want to look at a menu. We don't want to be told what we're going to do. And so many of our elected, I don't even call them elected leaders because they're not leading. So many of the elected politicians, like you said, it's either one way or the other. It's either so strong-handed this way, and that's just not how we are. And so it's refreshing to have people that are actually listening, people like Bobby that come down there and say, hey, I want to learn. It's a good thing. And I think we need more of that to make this country better.
Yeah. Amen, man. I think, I would love to see Bobby get, I don't know if most people know if he's on the ballots. I think they're still figuring that out, but it's Trump, Biden, and Kennedy. Those are the options. I don't even think some people realize that that Bobby Kennedy is an option.
Yeah. I tell you what, I listen to him often. I've had the pleasure. Look, his campaign reached out to me. The others haven't. So I don't care who you are. If you want to listen and you want to learn and you want to hear what I have to say, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I think the campaign's still trying to get on some of the ballots, but at the end of the day, that's the big three that are going to be probably left when it's all said and done. Don't know how that's going to play out because we still have a primary. There's still one Republican candidate out there, two out there.
Haley and Trump are
out there. You got Biden and you got Kennedy.
Haley has some good border policies, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, I think she's kind of. I don't know who's advising her. I'm certainly not. I think she's about securing the border, but a lot more openness about it, than some of the others. I think that there's. I think at least from Trump and Kennedy, it's like, hey, we got to secure the border, and I think Haley is saying the same thing. But I just
and Biden's saying it now too, or their campaign.
Well, it's that
they're saying it. I'm saying,
yeah, the timing is impeccable, right?
Right.
The numbers at the lowest he's been. Border is a number one. So
it's definitely a last ditch effort.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they're going to run. I can't imagine he's going to run for president. I just don't think it would be humane.
Yeah,
is my argument. I don't think it would be humane to do that to somebody, Yeah,
well, what I will say is that candidates and campaigns are they change and evolve over a campaign cycle. So we're still, we're months away, but those are long months away. Anything can happen with whether it's the current president or the other contenders. I'm just glad that we've got another option out there. I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
And again, super smart guy, and I wish him all the best. And
me too, Bobby. And I've always liked I like the underdog.
Yeah,
I like the underdog.
It's fun to listen to him because he's smart on the topics, right?
And you can't even fucking understand him half the time. But that is just a vocal thing. Yeah, some people don't realize that. Yeah. Some people are like, he's drunk. I'm like, no, he has a bad E-chord or whatever.
But you know what? When you listen to him. And he talks about it. Look, he told me, he's like, I didn't see this border issue. I thought it was some right wing deal, right? We don't have a country if we don't have this border. He literally changed his mind in 72 hours of where he was coming from. And to me, that's a win, and that is successful, and that